Then it is the Alpha of number 55 of the Fletchers, and we are getting underway. Can't go through the rest of them, and we are racing here. And who is going to make it through turn one? Getting a bit close behind the Selby Harris Fiesta. There is the leader, Bath. Again, they qualified brilliantly well, but coming past Andy Windmill on the outside, leading up towards turn three on the hairpin was the next of the Abarths. Great start there, but now coming back into our sight. Briggs leads Patel, leads the leading Marston, so to speak, and now that's on the outside challenge there is Adam Brown getting past the Selby Harris car. Here comes Andy Windmill muscling his way past the Fiat Abarth, and now the turbo kicks in for the Fiesta side by side for the Selby Harris car and Adam Brown as they come up to Rocket for the first time.
Yeah, so Lisa Selby just lifting out the throttle there and going very, very slowly up towards the top end of the circuit. Not sure whether that car's got some sort of issue. Very, very close indeed further up. But for the moment, Manoj Patel still just about ahead of Adam Brown. Adam Brown's definitely getting closer, doing what he can to, not only he's already got in front of Andrew Windmill off the start, he's already trying to close that gap to the cars up the road. So Manoj Patel coming under ever more pressure. Phil Briggs has absolutely checked out. Very quick in qualifying was Phil Briggs, and he's continuing to keep that pace up into the opening stages of the race. Heading out onto circuit somewhat later than the others is Rob Phillips. Not 100% sure what's happened with Rob because he was in the assembly area, so he's not taken the start. Adam Brown late on the brakes up the inside. He gives it a look for Manoj Patel, and already a spin. It's going from bad to worse for Rob Phillips, but hopefully he will be able to continue on without too much of an issue. He's got the indicator on, so maybe some sort of persisting issue with that car. The mid-pack is absolutely anybody's guess. There's so many different dices for position going on. Back past us to tick the first lap in the book goes Phil Briggs. Who is in? It's Adam Brown now in second place. Then it's Manoj Patel with a bit of damage on the left-hand side of his car, so I don't know whether there was contact between himself and Adam Brown. And for the moment, Andrew Windmill, he's got to settle for fourth, but he's pushing forward.
Absolutely. So yeah, the 176 car of Rob Phillips and Benjamin Griffiths, they were very slow on the rolling laps, and it's going exactly as you say, Jack, from bad to worse for him. But wow, Phil Briggs is just gone. Exactly as you say, Adam Brown is keeping the attention of Manoj Patel and Andy Windmill. These two Hondas have crossed swords many, many times, and now it's Windmill keeping Manoj Patel on it, and just managing to close the door ahead of the Leggera. Well, just briefly at least. Andy Windmill switching to the inside line coming into Rocket, and now claiming that third place. Right behind him is Andy and David Marston in their Fiat Abarth. Now I think it was one of the Abarths that had contact with Manoj Patel. The damage doesn't look too bad. It's certainly not slowing Manoj down too much at this stage. So hopefully good old gaffer tape will get that one fixed. Look at the two Abarths right behind, really ready to keep the Hondas good and honest at this stage. Further back, still plenty of fighting going on. We've just seen Chris Herwood, number 21 Fiesta. That's another one of the Odell cars. And there is the somewhat stricken 176 car. Still going, still trying to keep out of the way. But I dare say that's the end of this race, at least, for that car.
I'm just looking as well, looking at the timing. Of course, it's Phil Briggs in the lead of the Turbo Tin Tops class, or the Turbo Tin Top series at the moment, just working his way through the final corner now. Adam Brown still giving chase, leading the Coord Sport Tin Tops ahead of Andrew Windmill, but Andrew's car, the body language is just showing he is pushing forward. He's not taking liberties with any part of the track limit, absolutely using as much as he can. Manoj Patel slowly losing touch with those two, but then you get back to what is the Abarth Assetto Corsas, the first one being Andrew Marston, being followed by David Marston, and then we finally get back to another naturally aspirated car. That's car number 2, currently in 7th place. That's Blair Roebuck. Sean Ely starting that car. He will bring that car into the pit lane at a random point throughout the race. He's got to stay stationary for 1 minute 30 before Blair Roebuck can then leave in the Honda Civic. But for the moment, those top 5 fairly close together. The one we need to watch is the Battle of the Marstons at the moment. Still just about Andrew Marston ahead of David Marston as they work their way back up to Rocket once again.
Absolutely. So the three Marstons are cousins. So it's been great to see these little Abarths really battling hard against the bigger engine tin top cars. Last year, I remember one of them, I think it was Andy Marston, qualified 4th. You know, really did well in the couldn't quite hold on to that pace initially, but really seeing an evolution of these cars at this point. We've got the number 3 is David Marston, and number 59, that's the lead of the pair that we're seeing on stream at the moment, is Andrew Marston. Then a little bit further back, you just saw going out of shot, is the Odell maintained Honda Civic, Steve Patworth. Oh no, that's commentator curse, one of the Abarths It's running very, very slowly. They're just gone past by the number 14. Oh, goodness me. That's, yeah, I'll take that one on the commentator's discuss. That's number 3 that was very slow there, David Marston. Tragedy has struck before the pit lane windows even open. Now the fastest lap is springing up. Andy Windmill starting to get the Civic. By his own admission, he tends to take the start a little bit more gently than the rest of the race course we're seeing. But oh no, there's a wheel that's gone on the Puma we just saw there. That's the Scott's hire car. It's Cotgrove, yes. The wheel is detached, and I didn't quite see where that's. And there he is. He's come completely to rest, and the wheel is still going. That's that's coming out the bus stop, isn't it? Well, at least the wheel has come to rest in a place where the marshals can retrieve it. But that car is somewhat stricken. As the stream now has a look at a great duel. This is the second place. Adam Brown in the number 1 Fiesta with the Civic of Andy Windmill trying an outside maneuver going into Rocket. Both cars cocking their inside rear wheels. Neither Andy Windmill not able to gain any particular traction. That's allowing Phil Briggs to continue to build that gap. Nearly 4 seconds when they came over the line. And there is the number 3 Fiat Abarth. Has made it back to the pits. Usually when you see the bonnet open, it doesn't tend to work well in these 40-minute races, especially the pit lane hasn't opened yet, so they couldn't even count this as their official pit stop.
Now we've got a couple of cars, obviously like you mentioned, in the pit lane. David Marston being the one that you can see there on stream with the bonnet in the air. Back into the pit lane, unfortunately, is Rob Phillips. So the race, he stood himself in good stead in terms of qualifying, starting from the outside of row 2, starting in 4th place. But unfortunately, that car's back in the pit lane after a couple of slow laps. The battle between Andrew Windmill and Adam Brown getting ever closer. Adam Brown's still the lead car in that battle. Through the final corner, they will come to stick another lap in the book. And Adam Brown, the car squirming away on the exit, just as he's trying to scramble for some grip, fires the car out of the corner, and the pair of them go on to another lap of the race, dueling away. The marshals doing an ever brilliant job just making sure that car is safe and the driver is all okay further around the order, that being the further around the circuit. That's Gareth Cotgrove, of course. That car now stricken, working its way through the corkscrew, so thankfully it's off the main racing surface. Through the final quarter, there's a great little battle. I'm sure you'll love this one. Across the line comes car number 234 of James Wilson, car number 97 giving chase. That'll be one of the cars from the Turbo tin tops by the looks of it. Car number 97
Andrew Clive Seegers, yes.
Yeah, great little battle. 2 cars that you wouldn't expect to see battling, and now we might see a change for second overall. First in the Co-Old Sport tin tops, it's Adam Brown on the outside, Andrew Windmill on the inside as they work their way up through Rocket. Late on the brakes, Andrew Windmill gets the car slowed down, jumps into second place overall, and he's now leading the Co-Old Sport tin top series. Heading down the back straight in a few moments' time they will go, and Andrew Windmill, now he's got in front. The only thing you need to do is break away, but Adam Brown, it's going to be easier said than done for sure. Absolutely so, and Adam Brown has been in this Fiesta for a few years now. He knows how to get the best out of this car, but of course Andy Windmill has had that Civic an even longer period of time. As you say, he registered it as the Leggera because of the amount of weight he shed off the car, and it's given him a lot of success. It's given him a lot of success penalties as well, which is also part of... Oh no, is this another one of the Marston Fiats in trouble? The number 6 is on stream. Is that running a bit slowly? Yes, it most certainly is, as it's making its way up towards Rocket. Oh dear, a bad day in the office for the Marston family. Because number 3, well, as you can see, the 3's back out there, but number 6 is going slowly, and Andy Windmill's in the pits now. The pit lane window's not open yet, so has he timed this too early, or does he have a problem? Not 100% sure. I see a marshal or a mechanic working their way over to that car, so hopefully all is well, and rushing over to speak to Andrew just to figure out exactly what's going on. The ever brilliant Alpha Life cameraman sprinting down the pit lane to get the shot, so thank you very much Alpha Life for sorting that. It's good to see Gareth Cotgrove out of the car and walking away with the marshal. The best of the battles at the moment is well and truly in the mid-pack. We'll wait for them to reappear as they come back through the final corner. Of course, with Gareth Cotgrove retiring from the race, that has now put John Glover and Mark Chappell in the lead of the Puma Cup class as well. So we'll have to keep an eye and see whereabouts they end up throughout the race. Getting ready, kit on, helmet on, and all strapped in the car. A little bit further down the pit lane is car number 2. That's Blair Roebuck behind the wheel of his 1800 Honda Civic. Back across the line comes car number 55, and we're already seeing Andrew Windmill back out on circuit and trying to work his way through some, it won't even be lap traffic. This will be fights for position, because obviously he's already been in the pit lane sooner than everybody else. Yeah, an unusual one there for Andy Windmill, probably just having something
maybe giving everybody else a sporting chance. That's actually kind of him if that's the case. But yeah, back out on circuit. We'll hopefully catch up with him later on and find out what's going on. But this battle has been going on for a while. The number 12 Mini, which is Stephen Warner, is fending off the advances of number 21. That's Chris Herbert. That's not his usual car. That is one of the Odell cars. They do have a small fleet of cars available for hire, obviously all race prepared. Generally Fiestas. They do have. They do also look after Steve Patworth's Honda Civic, whereas Chris Herbert's car is usually white. Now Chris Herbert owns that one. Oh my goodness, that's very, very late. Can you get that one slowed down? Oh, just about. Ben Brain Wayne. That's a difficult one to say. Ben Brain Wayne Bocock manages to get the position from the Mini, but it looked a little bit uncomfortable coming through Rocket.
Yeah, it was very, very late indeed. Somehow managed to get the car slowed down before reaching the track exterior and continues on. Slightly broke up the battle that we were watching, but of course one thing that the CSCC do really well is success penalties. In both turbo tin tops and the tin tops, you have a mandatory time for 1 minute 30 to stop. That's from pit in to pit out. So from as you enter the pit lane to as you exit, that has to be 1 minute 30. You can stay stationary for pretty much as long as you like, just don't cut it too fine. It's easier to be over than it is to be under, and it must be made during the race unless otherwise put in the supplementary regulations. But of course the success penalties, if you win a race throughout the season, you get a 30-second penalty added to your time. So instead of spending 1 minute 30 in the pit lane, you have to spend 2 minutes in the pit lane. Danny Cassar not being here this weekend, he would have had to overcome a 90-second penalty over those 4 races that we got this weekend. We've had another moment, unfortunately, for car number 166, that being the Renault Clio that we just saw just a few moments ago through the final corner. Car number 66, pardon me, that's, yeah, Ben Brain and Wayne Bocock through the final corner, found themselves pointing the wrong way. They continue on without too much of an issue, but back to the penalties. Andrew Windmill, he's got a 30-second penalty for successes earlier on this season. We've got the overall race leader in the pit lane, so that is Phil Briggs into the pits to serve his mandatory penalty. So the time starts now. He's got to stay in his pit box for, let's say, 1 minute 15, because I think it's 15 seconds from pit in to pit out. So of course this is one thing that the drivers have got to bear in mind, how long they stay in the pit lane. A battle slowly starting to form is for third overall, potentially second overall. No, it is third overall. That's Manoj Patel, and pretty much the final of the unfaltered Abarth that's out there, that being Andrew Marson.
Indeed. So a number of drivers have been caught out with the pit lane duration. They do try and cut it very, very fine to that 1 minute 30-second time scale, because making time up is very, very difficult. But exactly as you say, Jack, to then overcome the penalty is even worse. If they do cut the beam too short, they will incur a 30-second penalty plus the amount of time they're short by. They could be short by a tenth of a second, it doesn't matter. They will incur a 30-second penalty to their race time plus that amount they are short by. So it is a very heavy penalty should that take place. Either way, Blair Roebuck is still waiting to go, because of course Sean Neely hasn't come in yet. They have a 15-minute window to come in and serve the pit stop 10 minutes after the race has begun. And Phil Briggs is away, so he's now served his time, so he'll be looking at the clock. Some drivers may slow down a little bit. They can't obviously stop in the pit lane. That will be deemed as dangerous. And away he goes. We'll see if he has timed that right. But when he returns, when he crosses the timing line again, we'll see what position he reappears in. So on stream at the moment, the treble 9 car. That's Aidan Francis and Sean Wortley. They had trouble in qualifying. They were kind of left stranded on the infield a little bit. Oh no, I can see trouble out the window. Number 23. That's John Baker, isn't it? Yes, John Baker, Nick Mellor. That car has pulled off onto the infield. It's out of the firing line, and there it is. You can now see on stream that's formerly Paul Atherton's car, but sadly that's encountered trouble and pulled onto a safe spot in as safe as it can be in the infield, of course, but is off of the actual racing circuit. That's an alternative layer of Anglesey that he's pulled onto to stay out of the way and hopefully not cause a safety car and what have you. If he's able to get the car going, we'll see if he's able then to return to the circuit. At the moment he is stranded. There is the 66 car that was mentioned earlier, facing the wrong way. Ben Brain and Wayne Bocock having a bit of an argument with the 196. That's John Glover and Mark Chappell, as Jack was mentioning. That's the car that he himself is going to be racing later in the year. Best of luck to Jack for that one. But Yeah, this is a regular front runner in the Premium Cup. We don't have too many Pumas with us this time, but we do sometimes see quite a healthy turnout of the Pumas. And that does tend to be a fairly good running car, tends to be towards the top. I can see James Wilson in the 234 car has also come in. Usually used to share that car with Tony Wilson. And they've had that car a good length of time. However, head into the under the bonnet doesn't tend to be good. And the number 3 car is also stranded. That's the Marston again. And that's David Marston's car that has come to grief. Well off the circuit this time. So shouldn't cause any upset of the officials, but oh my goodness me, it's highly unusual for the Marstons to suffer so badly, but they definitely have this time. Over the line, the 66 car is now being challenged by what seems to be the one remaining untroubled Marston. And there it is, just coming onto stream now through turn 1, and it's a little bit deep then for the Clio. Oh, they're still side by side as they come through the hairpin with the aforementioned Puma right behind them. So a great squabble for track position, if nothing else. And the Clio's staying to the outside line, just trying to get the momentum going. Just manages to sweep across the nose of the Theatre Bath before they come through Church and back across our view here. Actually, the number 59, Andrew Marston, he's still going. That's actually right behind them. So 2 of the Marstons are still going. And there's the good old gaffer tape coming out. I did say that it was on Manhouse's car, so I did wonder whether they would have a go at fixing that with gaffer tape. It didn't seem to be slowing him down, so it may not be. Hopefully, there's no real damage to anything kind of serious, any drive belts. Oh no, I can see trouble from the number 7 car being pushed. Sometimes cars need kind of pushing to get them going again, but there seems to be no sense of urgency around the Harris Selby number 7 Fiesta. They have had a horrendous season with that car. It's such a shame. When it's on song, it goes very, very well. But alas, they look like they were trying to push it, but now it's actually rolling backwards in the pit lane at the moment. So, disaster again. They do a lot behind the scenes to Harrison Selby. And there goes others into the pit lane. I was confused with that camera angle for a moment. That was Chris Herbert coming into the pits. And you can see on the camera shot there, that's the stranded number 23. Still hasn't been able to move. So now the running order is somewhat disrupted by the pit stops going on. One of the Pumas just going underway because the Andy Windmill is back in the pits again. This looks like a much more expected pit stop, serving his penalty. His mechanic ahead of him is, I think, trying to usher him on or maybe counting him down. Can't quite see from here. Jack has gone down into the pit lane. Hopefully he can catch up with some people, but he tends to get very, very busy down there, so trying to catch people at the right time is part of the challenge for the pit lane reporter. So you can see the number 66 car has come in as well. That's Ben Brain and William Burcock, as mentioned. So it looked like came in at speed, so it should be good to go back out again. The 159 car is also in the pits. That's Andy Tate and Neil House, as we're looking at a pair of Pumas having an argument. So that's the 196 car we mentioned, John Glover. Now he's fending off the advances of the grey car behind us. Mark Kirby and Alex Eacock are sharing that particular car. I think that's Mark Kirby's car. Alex we've seen before in Pumas and the like. Mark previously raced a 944 Turbo before this, so that's quite a transformation from Porsche to Puma. Some more pit lane activity going on. Some officials waving people in. Who's on the way in? I can see the Ford KA, the number 88 car coming in. So James Rogerson and Chris Sawyer, along with Adam Brown, the number 1 car has come in. There is our former race leader. You can see on the shot. Those watching the stream. So Phil Briggs getting the turbocharged car back up and running. He's obviously looking to reclaim what was around about 5 or more second lead when the pit stop started to take place. And here's one of our Marstons. The number 6 car, that's Richard Marston. Seems to be back up to speed again. One of the other Marstons is just come into the pits, the number 59 car of Andrew Marston. There's another one of the Odell cars you can see on stream. So the Honda Civic, number 14 car. That's Steve Papworth's car, but it's run by Odell. And speaking of Odell, there's another one. That's Chris Herwood in the So anyone cars mentioned earlier, that's not a car he owns. He's renting that from Odell. So again, another opportunity for those that maybe don't quite have the know-how or the want sometimes to maintain the car themselves. You absolutely can, seek the services of the likes of Odell to service the car for you. And generally a quite cost-effective way of going racing as well. As the field continues to circulate, Adam Brown now with the lead. The number 2 combination hasn't yet pitted. I can see Blair Rogerberg is still ready to go. There's number 55 car, that's the Fletchers. So don't see too many Alfa Romeos in the wild, so that's an Alfa Romeo 33. As on stream we see Andrew Windmill now trying to regain some of the lost time. Of course, he's been through the pits twice now. Now, Andy Windmill said he may well not do the night races that we'll see later on, which would be a shame if that is the case, but his headlights don't actually stay on, they blink. So he was a little bit concerned for safety. Big gaggle of cars here on stream, just coming through Church now, coming around the Ford KA, somewhat outgunned, but still giving it everything in their hands. So that's Rogerson and Sawyer. And as we look slightly further upfield from where the Ford KA is, you can see the Adam Brown doing battle again. There's the 166 car, so that's pitted. That's changed its driver. Oh, sorry, it says 166 on the car. It's actually 66 on our notes. So Ben Brain and Wayne Bocock sharing that particular Renault Clio. Now I'm fairly sure we've seen that Ford KA a few times in the hands of different drivers. But at this point in time, it is with, as I say, James Rogerson and Chris Sawyer. They continue to filter their way around. Hopefully Jack has managed to catch up with somebody. And Jack has indeed found someone to have a chat to. So down to Jack Werrell in the pit lane.
Yep, so I'm down here in the pit lane with Clive Seegers. Clive, you've just got in after you first did. How do you find it? So we know the wind is quite strong here at Anglesey for obvious reasons. Is that affecting the car at all?
I feel I did a lot better in this race than I did in the qualifying. I knocked up about 3 seconds, which means I must be practicing or trying harder. So no, the wind doesn't bother me in the slightest. And I think we're played with our tyre pressures a bit as well, and it seems to be understeering less on the hairpins, so that made it feel better as well.
And of course, this being the first race of 4, what's the plan for the rest of the weekend? Because it's a unique situation to be in, really, isn't it?
We just hope the car will last. We had the engine rebuilt about 2 years ago and had 2 years of it breaking down over and over and over again. And this is the first year we've had several successful outings without any breakdowns, so fingers crossed.
Great stuff. Well, best of luck for the rest of the weekend.
That is more than we've succeeded so far. So.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for your chat. And back up to you, Chris.
Thank you, Jack. It's always great to have a chat with our drivers when things have gone well. At least they're probably not so happy to speak to us when things aren't going so well. But it's good to see that how the drivers are attacking an event like this. This is, as mentioned earlier, this is the first time the Classic Sports Car Club has done a 24-hour event. We've done night races before, but not through the night. So this will change how the drivers attack each individual race. Generally, they'll want to just throw everything they've got at their race because that may be the only time they're on track throughout the entire event. Of course, these drivers are out there up to 4 times over the next 24 hours. So some drivers may not want to push their car too hard too early. Some will no doubt give it absolutely everything they've got. We hope that they'll last throughout the entirety of the event. 2 Marsons, or the 2 remaining Marsons, as you say, which we know we lost the number 3 earlier on, but on stream at the moment is our remaining 2. So we see we're just coming back down the hill now. So we can't see everything from the commentary position. So for some of our shots, we do rely on the amazing stream footage being provided by Alpha Live for this event, as they now cut to Manoj Patel post pit stop. I think most people have been through the pits now, and have a quick look to see if anybody has yet to do so that is still running. I think most have. The only one that hasn't, that's still out there, is the number 12. So that is Stephen Warner in his Mini. And the pit lane, he's going to be close. And there is the number 12. So don't see that they've been in the pit lane yet. And the number 2 has changed. So now Blair Roebuck in his car, so that is his Honda Civic, as the old-style Honda Civic, is now taking the place of Sean Ely's black and pink accented Peugeot 205. So it shares the wear a little bit. So they still get the same amount of racing time between them, but not one car is taking the whole brunt of 40 minutes worth of racing wear. So it's a good way to do it if you both have race-prepared cars. On stream once again, Andy Windmill getting past a new car. I believe that's a new car for Holly Brown and Paul Turner. Now, they did have an older style Civic that they raced for a long, long time. It was Holly's car, I believe, that was shared. It was on a Holly or Paul's car, I'm not entirely certain. It was shared between several different people. But that's now a very much newer style Honda they've got. That's in trouble. It's the Marson again. Well, we've already lost the number 3. I can't actually tell which one of that's number 6 is now going to. So that's Richard Marson. That is going very, very slowly now. I think, just jumped straight off circuit and getting out of the way. Nicely done. So back on stream then, it's Chris Herbert just dancing his way around the number 4. Now that's another 2-car team. So that is Lee Norton. That's a new acquisition for him, I believe. That's the Peugeot 206. He usually shares Liam Place's Toyota Corolla. Now the Toyota had trouble at the beginning part of the race, so I wonder whether they decided not to run the Toyota and just run the Peugeot. So there is the number 4. The curious wheel colour arrangement going on, blue on the front and gold on the back. So you see how stiff the suspension is. Chris Herbert's Odell Fiesta there with one wheel cocking away in the air. That's one way to tyre save. Back up with me now, Jack Werrell, certainly getting your steps in. It'll be my turn next time, so I'll be breathing heavily when I get back up. But, it's great to catch up with the drivers, isn't it, when things are going well?
Yeah, and again, it's 9 times out of 10 we will, as commentators, say something and then be proven wrong, whether it be by something that a marshal says, something that a fan says, or something that a driver says. And I said, at the very start of the day, I'd imagine wind will slowly start to play an effect. Lo and behold, we chat to the first driver we chat to says it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. So yeah, again, it's those little insights that you simply can't buy apart from going to chat to the drivers. But at the moment, yeah, Phil Briggs still at the top of the times, but albeit he's got an exclamation mark next to his name and a little red box. So clearly something going on in that regard. I will have to check the race control chat just to see if anything has changed on that car.
He'll have a penalty, I suspect, is what that refers to.
So would I. And Adam Brown's only 6.3 back. So if it's a 5-second penalty, I'm sure he'd be more than happy. It's a 10-second penalty. That's where he really needs to start shifting forward and running away from Adam Brown. And Manoj Patel only 14 seconds back from the overall leader at the moment. Currently leading the Puma Cup class is the John Glover Mark Chappell pairing in 196, the bright yellow Ford Puma. 20th overall, first in class, leading the race overall, and of course leading Turbo Tin Tops A is Phil Briggs. Leading Cobalt Sport Tin Tops in C class is Adam Brown, currently sat second overall, and currently leading normal Cobalt Sport Tin Tops A class is Manoj Patel. So we've got 3 class leaders all in the top 3.
Nice. And Manoj Patel and Adam Brown have crossed swords many, many, many times in the past. Now, I was mentioning earlier that we were down on Marsons. I think we are actually down to 1. I was confusing one of the Abarths with a Marson car, and the one I was confusing was actually the 124 car, which is James Manning. It's not one of the. I think it's associated with him, but it's not driven by a Marson. Oh dear, oh dear. It's number 88 in again. Not a good time, oh dear. Andrew Windmill, beg your pardon. Not having a good time. Hopefully that's fixable as we look forward to seeing how Andy Windmill will do later on. And James Wilson is back in the pits as well. Good spot, Jack. Now the pit lane has closed, so difficulty for James Wilson. He's been already in once, and the body language doesn't look particularly promising around that car. Oh, is it a puncture, I wonder? So they're going straight to the wheel nuts on that front right. Obviously, visually, it doesn't look that bad, but obviously James feeling something is loose in that particular car, not happy about something. Always best to get it checked out, especially as they're due to be out there 4 times. The bonnet is up on Andy Windmill's car. I know in the past he's had overheating issues with that car when he's pushed it a little bit too hard, so wonder if the same has befallen him, but hopefully fixable. He'll have some time before he's due out again. That's certainly going to be the case. That's about the only comfort he can get right now.
Yeah, it's those little wins that you can take, really. You know you've got the pace, and it's just down to making sure that you can extract it at the right point throughout the weekend. And maybe not the best way to kick off the weekend, but then it would just make, if you return to the circuit, whether it be a mechanical issue that's then been solved, if you were to get a win later on in the weekend, it just makes that success taste a lot better. Back across the line goes car number 97. That's being in the hands of Andrew Grimm. I know Clive Seegers has got out, and it's Andrew Grimm now behind the wheel of that red Mini Cooper SJCW. Working their way through the top side of the circuit is one of the Odell cars. Back across the line goes our race leader Phil Briggs. That's a good little battle further around the circuit, isn't it? Heading currently in towards the hairpin, late on the race. Throwing the car up the inside is one of the slightly quicker cars, but car number 12, definitely one to watch throughout the weekend. Quite a quick little mini, Steve Warner's supercharged R53, one of 2 R53s that we've got out there, and they're being caught by the race leader Phil Briggs as well. So there's lots of little bits that we've got to keep an eye on. And for the most part, we haven't really mentioned it. Traffic management, very crucial if you're one of those top runners.
Very much so, especially this being our most heavily populated grid of the weekend. It is obviously going to be most tested. Now, one thing I am looking at is the last lap time. Adam Brown was about 0.3 quicker than Phil Briggs. Now, that partly down to the traffic going on. And there is Adam Brown just going into the shot now for those watching on the stream. Just catching to the back of the 159 car. That is Andy Tate and Neil House. Not sure which driver started that one. But as the camera is doing a great job of trying to catch both cars, when they crossed the line, were only 5.7 apart. So Adam Brown is really pushing on. And if Phil Briggs, as we suspect, is facing a penalty, then that victory that looks like at the moment looks set to be Phil Briggs, may well change us. And there's a flash of the lights from Adam Brown, perfectly entitled to do so. He's trying to get past lap traffic. He's simply letting them know they're there. And that's the Tate and House car, as you can see on stream there, doing the right thing, getting off the racing line and letting Adam Brown through, as he's now catching the back of, well, there's the 78 Honda Civic of Holly Brown and Paul Turner, who did a good job of staying out of the way. But unfortunately for Adam, he's got a pair of minis right ahead of him. One's the number 12, the other is the treble 9 car. Now, what makes it difficult for cars that are involved in their own battle, they don't want to then slow down. Oh, really 3 wide on the exit of turn 1 there. They don't want to slow down to let somebody through, because as has just been proven here, my goodness me, that's close. Now on the outside line of the hairpin there of turn 3, Aidan Francis and Sean Bortley, the treble 9 car, was very close to the outside line of the Fiesta. No harm, no foul on that occasion, but yeah, no one really wanted to let any Corsa go there.
No, it's again, what do you do in that situation if you're the quicker car? You completely respect that the cars you are approaching are having a battle, so you want to let them have their battle and carry on, because you're trying to catch up to your battle on its own as well. So it's sort of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. You want to get through as quickly as possible, but you don't want to disrupt a battle and make it somewhat dangerous as well. But then you don't want to lose any time to the leader. So no matter what you do, it's never going to be absolutely perfect. You've got to. There's a very fine balancing act, and I think Adam Brown, he very cleverly mixed patience with aggression there, because he was very patient not to go 3 wide, but then aggressive up the inside, get the move done quickly, cleanly, rip the plaster off, and he's away, which has worked for the moment. I'd imagine he will have lost a little bit of time to the leader Phil Briggs at the moment, but just keeping an eye out there. Everyone's fairly equidistantly spread, and it's worked out quite nicely, because whilst there are battles going on, there's quite substantial gaps between the cars, so I'm sure the drivers are absolutely loving some clean air. And I've noticed back out on circuit is car number 7. That'd be the Toby Harris Lisa Selby Ford Fiesta ST180. Overheating, I think, was the issue, because there was a lot of steam coming out from the bonnet earlier on. It was pushed back into the garage. Whatever they've done has clearly fixed the issue, because they're back out there and circulating. Great to see.
Excellent stuff, and ideal really, because they can use the rest of this race as a test bench for the races that are coming up later in the day. So, ideal for them. Whoops, that looked like a bit of a lock-up there for Leo Roebuck. Just coming into the left-hander there, being chased by Steve Papworth. And those two have crossed swords many a time in the past. Now, again, keeping an eye on the lap times, I can see Adam Brown was gaining a bit on Phil Briggs. Phil Briggs is now exercising his right foot a little bit more and open that gap up again. So nearly 6 seconds now between the race leading Seat and the chasing Fiesta. And still battles going on throughout the field. Just over 5 minutes left of this race. And some battles are very far from decided. What's also great is the blue flag rule isn't necessarily strictly enforced in the sense of, yes, if you're being lapped, you do have to let through. But there are times when we do see the lap runner still give the lapping car a bit of a run for its money. And I'm looking at the number, before I even finish that sentence, I'm looking at the number 55. The Fletcher Alfa Romeo has got some smoke coming out of it. And looking at the, it always makes me chuckle, that Fat Moose sponsorship on the back of James Manning's car. That had a little bit of what looked like fire coming out of the exhaust. That's fire and smoke are not normally friends of cars.
No, I don't know whether it was steam or smoke. They look very similar. I'm guessing it was steam. They are somewhat off the pace. And yeah, the back to the Selby Fiesta, back down the back straight. There you go. A lot of backs in that one. So Toby Harrison, Lisa Selby, once again out and circulating, just getting, yeah, like you say, using it as a test session, trying the car out, figuring out maybe what the issue is, diagnosing it ever further, and then, of course, preventing it from happening again. We'll have a quick look on the timing screen and figure out who the closest cars are out on circuit. I'd imagine if you look towards the top of the time, it's 8th and 9th respectively. Car treble 9. That's Sean Wortley and Aidan Francis in the Mini Mafia Mini Cooper SR53. They are only just under 1.5 seconds ahead of car 159. That's Andy Tate and Neil House in their Renault Clio Cup Gen 4. That one being with the turbocharger. So I'd imagine the latter car is maybe slightly quicker, but we will wait and see. Of course, that more than likely running a sequential gearbox as well, hence why the pair of those two are getting closer and closer as they work their way up towards Rocket now. That is definitely the battle to watch. Adam Brown currently on stream working his way through the tail end of the circuit, just trying to again dig more time out of Phil Briggs up at the top of the order. Only 4.5 seconds separating the top two now.
With 3 minutes left on the clock, so keeping an eye on the tail end of the Fletcher Alfa Romeo 33. If it is ailing, it's not ailing massively. I'm not seeing huge amounts of smoke or steam or whatever it is. Actually, as it comes past me, I'm not sure I'm seeing anything at all. So, oh, it is a little bit. I think you're right, Jack. I think it's actually steam that's coming out of the tail of the car. It's not lingering smoke or anything like that. So it could be maybe run out of fluid a little bit, but it seems to only be when it's really heavily on the gas, which we couldn't quite see from that camera shot as the chasing Clio was slightly in the way. But yeah, still battles are yet to be resolved, exactly as you were saying, Jack. The treble 9 and 159 cars, the Mini and the Renault, still arguing their particular case. On stream now is Phil Briggs in the number 55 race leading car. That lead did come down, it was actually was down to 2.7 seconds when they last came over the line, and we can just see both of them in the same shot now. So Adam Brown is very much getting on with it, and we don't know what the penalty is for Phil Briggs, unless you've managed to catch up with it, Jack. I haven't had a chance to yet. No, I don't see a report of it up here, so hoping he's not cut the beam too early. If so, he's got 30 seconds plus, however much he was short by on his pit stop exit. But either way, Adam Brown is not waiting for the penalty to decide. He's chasing off after that Seat as hard as he can.
Yeah, I noticed car number 6 back in the pit lane again, unfortunately. Richard Marson, that car spent a lot of time in the pit lane throughout this race, so hopefully they will be able to get that car fixed and back out on circuit later on this afternoon. But Phil Briggs definitely losing more and more time over Adam Brown. Like you mentioned, 2.7 seconds the gap is now down to. Last time through, 1.8 seconds. Adam Brown was quicker than Phil Briggs. We'll wait for them to appear in just a few moments' time through our side from the commentary box. Thankfully, the brilliant Alpha Live TV crew have managed to pick that car up. Our race leader working his way towards the final corner. So Phil Briggs appears now. Adam Brown probably even closer this lap. Much later on the brakes is Adam Brown, as such the car's a lot lighter. Through the final corner comes Phil Briggs, across the line to go on to what will be the final lap of the race. There goes Adam Brown crossing the line, 2.7 down to, oh wow, he gained an entire 11 thousandths of a second. Very quick lap from Adam Brown, but he is still chipping that time away. So unless he can pull out an absolute monster lap, I don't think he'll gain anything close towards the leader. Bouncing over the grass, running very, very, very wide, somehow keeping the car pointing in a straight line, was Lee Norton in the Peugeot 206 GTI. Got the moment collected up and carried on, but I've got to say, standout drive for this one has got to be Adam Brown. Done a brilliant job.
Absolutely. So I've just seen Manoj Patel come past us, the third place Honda Civic, just absolutely covered in gaffer tape, keeping whatever damage was caused with that early race impact under control. I mean, he's some 26 seconds or so behind Adam Brown at the stage, so still in third, so still on for a good podium finish, but possibly not where he would have hoped at the beginning of the race. Either way, a lot of the drivers are simply looking to survive. It was the general ethos I got when I was speaking to a number of them throughout the course of the day. But the checkered flag will be ready, at least on track, for Phil Briggs, assuming that he isn't pipped to the line by Adam Brown. As we can now see on stream, just coming into the hairpin now, still traffic ahead of him to deal with, but shouldn't hold him up too much. That's the Seekers and Grim Mini that's joining with one of the Fiat Abarths. I think it's one of the remaining Martin car. But to conclude the first race of the event, as we see on stream now, it's Mini, it's Sayat, and the flag is being prepped for car number 5. But that victory has already been handed to Adam Brown, whatever the penalty is. So we haven't been notified of what the penalty is for, but that has gone the victory to number 1. That is Adam Brown in the Ford Fiesta. The race victory being given to the Tin Tops Raider, and that's a 30-second penalty.
I reckon that's probably about 25-second penalty, yeah, but of course Phil Briggs crossed the line. Adam Brown wasn't too far away, so I'd say 25 seconds plus the, 4 seconds back Adam Brown could have been. I reckon Phil Briggs has dropped back only 1 place. Wow, very close. Manoj Patel 4 tenths away from picking up 2nd place. So Phil Briggs, whilst he hasn't got the overall lead, of course he's still got the win in class. Adam Brown promoted to the overall. Through their green flag warming up, coming onto the start finish line. Red lights are on. They will go out in a few moments' time. It's Adam Brown controlling the race. The red lights go out now. Cracking start from Adam Brown. Phil Briggs carrying a penalty, of course, from race 1. That lines him up in 2nd place already. Up into 3rd and trying to defend as best he can is Manoj Patel. Blair Roebuck sat there in 4th place. They work their way up towards turn 1. Manoj on the outside, and Patel has got to go all the way around the outside to defend for 3rd place. They're side by side, just about managing to work their way through. But for the moment, it looks like Blair Roebuck just got the better of the two coming out of the corner. And no, it is still Manoj Patel sat there in 3rd place under pressure now. We're 2 by 2 all the way down the back straight. Manoj Patel slightly quicker in a straight line. Then it is the number 59 of Andrew Marston in his Abarth, who's again just a little bit quicker in a straight line, gaining on the cars up the road, and Phil Briggs into the wall up towards the tight left-hander, and Phil Briggs, so unfortunate. I'm not sure what it was. I didn't see it on the stream. He
lost it under braking, speared off to the right-hand side. He looked like he got it, but the back end of the car just clouted the wall surrounding the marshal's post up at the top of the hill. So that's certainly done some damage to his car. I'm not going to do the usual commentator's thing of it was cold tyres, cold brakes, because I don't know, I wasn't there. But it certainly looked as if the car got away from him under braking.
Yeah, it's an easy thing to do, especially in a front-wheel drive car on cold tyres. You hit the brakes and the car will wander a little bit, but just a little bit too much for Phil Briggs. Found himself in the wall. Thankfully, it was into some tyres, so the impact will have been slightly softened. However, through and away goes Adam Brown, crossing the line to stick the first lap in the book. Well and truly in the lead of the race now, continuing to pull away from Manoj Patel. Then it is car number 2, that being in the hands of Blair Roebuck. He will come into the pit lane, get out of his car. Sean Ely will leave the pit lane in his car later on in the race. They're under pressure from car number 59 of Andrew Marston. Further down the order, we've got some great little battles going on. Of course, we've still got Phil Briggs trying to carve his way back up and through the order. He's currently trying to work his way past John Glover's and Mark Chappell's Ford Puma, does so as quickly and efficiently as possible. But we've also got Lisa Selby and Toby Harris's Ford Fiesta ST180, the turbocharged machine, trying to carve their way up through the order, up into third place already now. Andrew Marston, the next target for him will be Manoj Patel.
And working his way through very well there, but these cars so evenly matched all the way down the field that we're seeing battles up and down. The Abarth is doing its stuff beautifully. The two Fiat Abarths there working very, very well together. Fabulous. I love the liveries of these cars as well, Jack. That it's so bright, so varied that we could easily have just a grid of tint tops, but it's much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got to say, all of the cars, not only of course in the Colt Sport tin tops, low and turbo tin tops, and the Puma Cup, all of them beautifully prepared, all been cared for and looked after properly. You don't see a badly prepared car in the Classic Sports Car Club paddock, so it's really nice to see. Adam Brown through the final corner now to tick yet another lap in the book and continue pulling away from Manoj Patel, currently sat there in second place. Still giving chase is Andrew Marston in the Abarth Assetto Corsa. Of course, that car is turbocharged, so maybe slightly quicker in a straight line. Blair Roebuck under pressure now. That's from one of the Odell machines, car number 14 of Steve Papworth, who has got just behind him the 97 Mini from the Turbo Tin Tops. That'll be that's the shared car between Clive Seegers and Andrew Grimm. Further down the order, we've still got a good few little battles, but more importantly, Phil Briggs desperately trying to make up some of those places he lost on the first lap of the race. Whereabouts is Andrew Windmill? And we'll have to have a look. I don't know whether I've missed him coming through, but I can't see Andrew Windmill on the timing, and I can't see him out on circuit. So maybe Andrew Windmill hasn't made it out for this race.
No, I can't see him on timing scoring either. So yeah, I think you're right. Battle there for the number 6 Richard Marston car.
Yeah, Blair Roebuck, he's got his hands full there. That's slightly, it's almost battling away with his younger brother, really, isn't it? The two Civics fighting away. And the good thing is about the Classic Sports Car Club is obviously everybody's put into classes. So in the tin tops you've got class A, B1, B2, C, D, E, F and R, and obviously everybody falls into various classes within there. Obviously we can go into that later on when we've got the time too. And the same with the turbo tin tops, they go from class A to F. So there's so many different classes that cater for all cars, as long as they are front wheel drive, whether they be supercharged, turbocharged, naturally aspirated, or even a diesel as well. You are allowed to run a diesel. So there's so many different little cars that you can find out on circuit. And again, it's cars, I mentioned it to Chris earlier, it's cars that you wouldn't expect to see fighting together. Like you've got a Honda Civic Type R, not a slow car. Manoj Patel crosses the line, still with Andrew Marston. In theory, Andrew Marston is in a very slightly, let's go with slightly modified Fiat 500. It's just two cars that you don't expect to see fighting away, but the Classic Sports Car Club does it so brilliantly. Phil Briggs still carving his way up through the order across the line once again. He is making up positions hand over fist and spurred on by the mistake early on.
Yeah, I'm sure that we can tell which car is his by the red mist coming out of the back end of the car, because he must be kicking himself for what he did. Can't actually see any damage on that car, Jack. So I'm not sure whether he did actually hit anything or not. But certainly, yes, he just where we see there on our screens. The top of the hill into Rocket.
Yeah, I mean, when he comes by us, at least we can see the left-hand side of the car, and it looks like there's bits of black marking on the side, potentially or presumably from the tyres having made contact with them. But I don't think it's mechanical damage. It's just a bit of cosmetic damage, and it's some of the rubber has rubbed off the tyres and found its way and deposited itself onto the side of Phil's car. Running up through the order now at the moment, it is car number 3. That is in the hands of David Marston. He's having a great little battle with car number 21. That's Christopher Herwood, and the one of the Ford Fiesta STs that we've got out there, a 2-litre engine in that ST. ST's not exactly the slowest things to start off with. Back across the line goes Adam Brown, continuing to pull away from Manoj Patel. Manoj rounding the final corner now. He will break the timing beam. We'll see what the lead gap is as he crosses the line. Almost 11 seconds, 10.970 seconds now. The battle, however, a little bit further back for 4th place, still going on, still with Blair Roebuck being the lead car in that battle, but Steve Papworth getting ever closer. And of course, the longer Steve spends behind Blair, he will learn maybe where Blair's slightly weaker, where he's earlier on the brakes, and learn where to make that move.
I think this is part of what any form of endurance racing is about, is that you don't win it in the first 5 laps. You can win it in the last race almost, or the last section of the race. Must stop calling it a race, because it's not. The last section of the race, and the 2 Hondas side by side. And who's going to be latest on the brakes? The number 2 car. Yes, it's the Ely Roebuck car that gets into Rocket first up at the top of the hill. They then fall down into the dip, and then coming back up and back into our sight. And these two, as you said, Jack, very different sorts of cars in many ways, but nonetheless so evenly matched. We saw earlier on when you were on your break the battle between the Citroën 2CV and an MGB. How unlikely was that? Yeah. But I think that part of the joy of this kind of racing is that you can really see most unlikely cars battling together. And I mean, it's a little bit of a hobby horse of mine, is that with one make, one standard races, you know, the Clios or the Minis or whatever it might be, you don't get this thing that we've seen already several times today of cars which are either fast on the straight, fast around the corners, brake well, don't brake well, and that to me is what so much of the racing is about.
Yeah, it's nice seeing because you can always see the battles forming before they actually do, because now again coming through what is turn 3, Blair Roebuck having to defend once again from Steve Papworth. Steve slightly quicker in a straight line by the looks of it, but we saw them side by side last time heading up towards Rocket and lifting off very, very early and trying to make the most of some traffic. There is Blair Roebuck. Up the inside he will go on the run up towards Rocket, and crucially almost put a car between himself and the car behind. However, it is still Blair Roebuck leading Steve Papworth. They have now worked their way in between the Ford KA that is out there. That's in the hands of James Rogerson and Christopher Saylor. And
again, we were saying earlier that at this level of motorsport, it is worth mentioning that if you're used to watching international racing, and particularly F1, where the blue flag means that the slower car has to dive out of the way, this is very far from that.
Yeah.
That in what I would call proper racing, in proper racing, it's not like that. That it is up to the faster car to find its way through, and if that means going offline, if that means having to maybe take a different angle to a corner, that's tough. That's what you have to do, and that we've seen a bit of that. We've seen a bit of people boxing other people in, like a touring car race, but that's all fair game.
Yeah, absolutely, because you know full well if you are the lead car in a battle, whilst you're going to get to that traffic first, you know full well the car that you're battling with has got to work its way through as well. So if you can put your car in such a position where the slower car has got to come back online and potentially block your rival for that race, it can work out quite well. Once again, heading down the back straight, once again, Blair Roebuck under pressure from Steve Papworth. Steve, again, discretion is the better part of valour, just lifting off very slightly, allowing Blair to almost pull a little bit of a margin ahead of himself, but it's giving Steve that confidence that he doesn't need to make this position now. Whilst this is session 2 of the weekend, in theory, once you've started your first race, it doesn't stop until the very end of the day. So to put it into perspective, if you are just joining us, if you set off on a green flag lap and then you start the race, that is when your race starts at the very start of the weekend. And you won't be shown the checkered flag until the end of the very, very last session of the weekend for your series. So in theory, it can be quite a substantial day, but it goes off how many laps you've completed, and if you so happen to finish on the same lap as somebody else, it will go off the race time, how long it took you to do those laps, and that's how it works. So in theory, it is one big race from weekend start to weekend finish. So it's a nice little concept that the Classic Sports Car Club have worked up quite nicely. I'm just noticing getting closer together is one of the battles we've got going on in the Puma Cup. Mainly it is John Glover and Mark Chappell. I think John Glover is starting that car. Let's have a look. Yes, it is John Glover starting. Let's have a quick look who's that on the pit wall. That might be John Glover on the pit wall, so it could be Mark Chappell in that car at the moment. They're having a brilliant little battle with Mark Coble in the background, so it's a couple of little cars that you wouldn't really associate too much with wheel-to-wheel racing. There is Mark Chappell's or John Glover's yellow Ford Puma, currently trying to pull away from the car behind. Manoj Patel having to deal with traffic. Again, something we mentioned in the first race, something we've mentioned in most races, because all of the races this weekend are 40 minutes long. Traffic management is so crucial. If you can get through the traffic as quickly as possible and as cleanly as possible, it allows you to extend that margin throughout the race.
Indeed, and that's with a 40-minute race, of course, it's not a question of if you're going to be lapping people, you are going to be lapping people, and that you need to get that very clear from the outset. And that we talked about colours, Jack, and how good some of these colour schemes are. It actually has a bearing on how you get through traffic as well. That if you've got a car which people recognise, and they recognise you as being quick, then that's brilliant. You know, that people might even move out of your way.
Yeah, it's almost, I think the best way to do it is, I think there was an interview with Martin Brundle a number of years ago where they interviewed him about how it was to race against Ayrton Senna, and he said if anybody saw that yellow helmet, you jumped out of the way. Yeah, because you didn't want to be the one to ruin the qualifying lap. And it can be the same if you've got some sort of rapport with the drivers and they recognise your car, and like they look in the rearview mirror and think they're quick. They will more than likely, instead of battling you and slowing themselves down, they might let you through, because if they follow you, they could learn something. You might be doing a corner very slightly differently. Into the pit lane, however, comes car number 187. That is Mark Coble. So into the pit lane he has come. He will be handing over to Ecock in just a few moments' time. Coble out the car. Ecock jumps in. So of course they've got everyone here this weekend in the Turbo Tin Tops and the Puma Cup. From pit in to pit out, it has to be 1 minute and 30 seconds. So no more, well, it can be more, it just cannot be any less. Now we're seeing something quite interesting if you're watching on the stream. We're seeing Phil Briggs carving his way back up through the order, but he's separated the battle we were watching between Steve Papworth and Blair Roebuck. If you were Blair Roebuck now, pit windows open, to save all this battling and potentially losing time, if I was him, I'd dive into the pit lane, hand over to Sean Ely. Of course, Sean Ely is sat ready and waiting behind the wheel of his Peugeot at the end of the pit lane, because you don't just have to share a car, you can run two cars, but as long as one car enters and 1 minute 30 later the other car leaves, you should be all right. So yeah, if I were Blair Roebuck, be in the pit lane now, minimise time loss and get Sean Ely out there and circulating as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure what the differences are with the timing that those two did in qualifying or in the first race, but nonetheless, yeah, it would make sense, because he is undoubtedly now being held up. There's little doubt of that. Doing a good job of carving his way through, but nonetheless, he is just coming down now to the bus stop. He's got that position, so maybe he can afford to stay out.
Into the pit lane comes Steve Papworth. So potentially he's decided that is the best way to do it, of course, because he no longer has to fight away with Blair Roebuck. He's in the pit lane, he can do his pit stop. The mechanics check pressures, maybe hand him a drink, because it is getting hotter out there, so the track might be getting as optimal as possible. Any hotter, you're risking it getting a bit too hot and it will start to shred the tyres. The pit lane becomes a very busy place. Into the pit lane comes the number 3, that being David Marson. So too does James Wilson. He is in the pit lane. Who else do we have diving in? We've got the Mini Mafia car. That is Sean Wortley and Ada Francis's Mini R53. They're into the pit lane to serve their mandatory pit stop. James Wilson stop stationary towards the end of the pit lane. Where's the battle we were watching earlier on? I think they're just heading up towards the very top end of the circuit. Adam Brown, flash of the lights, desperate to try and get through some traffic. He's working his way past the already pitted Mark Coble, but this is the issue. As a very, very fast race leader, you're going to have to deal with the traffic.
Yeah, and you have to be would it be fair to say brutal? That you certainly have to be assertive is the word, because you can't play the after Euclid game with that. This is obviously being judged by many of the teams as being the optimum time for a pit stop. That the number 4 Lee Norton car comes in. That's going to be handing over to Liam Place in the Toyota Corolla.
One thing to note as well, obviously, if you're watching on the stream, you can see John Glover and Mark Chappell's bright yellow Ford Puma. Of course, you might have looked in the grille and thought, well, what's that? That is the night racing light. There's a big strip of LED almost from one side of the grille to the other. And between the final race earlier on, but as we went into the afternoon break, all of the cars, at least for the tin tops, turbo tin tops and Puma Cup, were all they all got sent to scrutineering. It was just night scrutineering. So what they do, they go there, make sure your headlights are working, make sure your extra night lighting is working, and then you're able to go and race. So I know a few of the cars have all been, I know pretty much all the cars have all been signed off. There are some people that aren't opting to race at the night, and to be honest, whilst it is my first time here at Anglesey and I'm looking thinking, yes, I'd love to have a go, I'd imagine it's a pretty scary place during the night.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, so we've heard people talk about it being quite twisty and quite Mickey Mouse, but it's still quick, you know. And that if you look at that rundown from Rocket up the Tom Price straight to the hairpin, that's pretty quick. Yeah, and that you certainly don't want to be losing your way at that time. The number 1 car is in. Yeah,
our race leader Adam Brown into the pit lane. He parked sort of halfway down the pit lane. I know he's being taken to the very end of the pit lane. That is, I think Adam's father sat there, the mechanic on that one. I can see John Glover is getting ready because into the pit lane comes Mark Chappell from the lead of the Puma Cup class. So down the pit lane, got to be careful on the speed limit, of course. So John waving him into the pit box, pulls in, jumps on the brakes, and it'll be Mark straight out, John straight in. And then, of course, there doesn't need to be any major rush because they know they have 1 minute 30 at a very minimum in terms of a pit stop. So Mark's out, John will get in. In the lead of the race overall at the moment, of course, is still Adam Brown, but whilst he is in the pit lane, in theory, everything has been passed over to Manoj Patel. So Manoj Patel is now in the lead of the race, but still yet to pit. Still out there and circulating is Phil Briggs, but this time he's back behind Steve Papworth. I know Steve has been into the pit lane, but it's funny how those things level out, how you can overtake a car and then a lap later you're back behind them again.
Yeah, and I think that one of the beauties of the whole pit stop race thing is that, yeah, we know it's 1.5 minutes from pit in to pit out. You can't play with that. I mean, yeah, okay, you can make a mess of it and actually go out more than 1.5 minutes, but very few people do. But it's how you manage your in-lap, particularly how you manage your out-lap.
Yep.
And if you've had a driver change, then let's cut those guys some slack and say that to be going out in a race car which is in the middle of everything else that's going on, but you've got to find your rhythm and everything else. That can be quite difficult, and that therefore, if you are that second driver, it's a big ask in some ways to do your first lap out of the pits, and particularly if you're in a situation where there is a battle that you're either heading for or trying to run away from, and it might appear.
No, I've just noticed as well, Andrew Marson has just retaken to the circuit. And he's found himself in a world of his own, which is another thing you've got to bear in mind. It depends how your pit stop goes, and not only how yours goes, but how other people's pit stops are varied in time. Because you can go out onto circuit, or you can go into the pit lane, come back out, and the person you were racing isn't there anymore, purely because they've had, 2 or 3 extra seconds in the pit stop, or like you mentioned, the crucial in and out lap. If you are sat stationary in the pit lane for at least a minute, of course, because it's about 20 seconds from pit in to pit out if you're on the pit limit, I think about 15 if you're really there. Whilst you're stationary, all of that heat from the tyres and the brakes is slowly starting to dissipate. So if you go straight back on it as soon as you get back out of the pit lane, and not give the car a chance just to settle down again, and if you've done a driver change, not give yourself time to learn the car in what could be slightly different conditions to how you drove it in the morning, that's when the mistakes come and that's when you lose the time. So there's so many different things that you've got to bear in mind. You're not just managing your strategy, you're keeping an eye on everybody else's, managing your in-lap, managing your out-lap. It's a busy old job. To go with the potential changes in wind, thankfully the wind has pretty much died off. The sun has come out and yeah, it's turned into quite a nice day. The temperature has gone up, so I'm sure some of the drivers are thinking, right, okay, the temperature has gone up, great, I can get heat into the tyres and the brakes quicker, but the heat into me I'm not enjoying so much. So it's 6 to 1 and half a dozen of the other, but for the moment the track seems to be getting quicker throughout the day, and of course into the night I think it'll get quicker ever still. As soon as we get to that golden hour where the sun is there, the sky is still light, it's not blinding you, the track's cool, the car is keeping itself cool, so it's more economical. I think we could see some very quick lap times, but now, currently under pressure for what is in theory the lead of the race, Manoj Patel's still yet to pit. Phil Briggs has already been into the pit lane. He's currently, when he crossed the line, sat in 5th place, so he's a lap behind Manoj Patel, but he's gaining that time. So Manoj still yet to pit. We know it's around about, obviously, a 1 minute 30 lap time. So if Phil Briggs can get in front of Manoj and pull 10 seconds yet more, as soon as Manoj leaves the pit lane, they're going to be straight in a battle.
Yeah, and it comes absolutely back to what we were just talking about, which is that it depends on how they manage that, how they manage to get those. I suppose it's a crucial 3 laps, isn't it? It's 2 in and 2 out, or 2 in and 1 out, and those are what are going to make the difference. But Manoj Patel certainly looking very, very healthy at the moment.
Yeah, of course, he was involved in a little knock this morning with one of the Fiat Abarth Assetto Corsas that's out there, heading up towards Rocket. He he left half the car's width, so not enough to obviously fix the car in, and I'm well aware that an Abarth isn't exactly the biggest car in the world. And unfortunately there was a bit of contact there. He didn't affect Manoj at all. When he came into the pit lane to serve his mandatory penalty, which everybody has to do, a suitable amount of duct tape applied and the car sent straight back out. But yeah, Manoj is looking very comfortable. He's a lap in front of pretty much everybody bar Adam Brown at the moment, but of course he is still yet to pit. So Manoj isn't still yet to pit. Into the pit lane he comes, Phil Briggs. Whilst Manoj came in, Phil was just in front of him. While Manoj is sat stationary, Phil has got all but clean air in front of him. There's not a single car in front of Phil Briggs at the moment, so he can absolutely fly into that clean air, make up some time. I think when Manoj leaves the pit lane in around about 1 minute 30 seconds time, we're going to see a great battle for what will be second on the road.
Jack, you are so right, because if you do the sums, and I was away when they did sums at school, but it's if you do the sums, I think you can see that it's going to be very close. And all that we've talked about in terms of the lap time, in terms of in-laps, out-laps, is all going to apply. That the ever-crucial stopwatch is being very carefully looked at. I'm not going to do the Murrayism of I'm going to stop my stopwatch, but it's that is such a long time, isn't it? That minute and a bit that you have to stop and wait. But,
yeah, that's one thing to note as well. The camaraderie in the paddock is brilliant. I'm looking at Mark Chappell, having just got out the car, just got out the yellow 196 Ford Puma, is sat letting Manoj know that the pit lane is clear and ready to go. So as soon as Manoj's stopwatch ticks clear and he's ready to go, obviously Mark can wave him out and let him know that there's no traffic behind it. Yeah. Manoj Patel is rolling. Where is Phil Briggs? Phil Briggs is just coming through the final corner now, so not as close as I thought. So either a blisteringly quick lap time from Manoj, or a pit stop from Manoj, or maybe a slower lap. But we know Phil, looking at the cars behind him, he's had to deal with a lot of traffic on that lap.
He has, and also it is still going to take Manoj just a little bit of time to get up to speed. I mean, it's a single driver rather than a change of driver, so he will get back into his rhythm very quickly. But still, he's in a good place right now.
Yeah, we can see on the stream Lisa Selby and Toby Harris in their Ford Fiesta carving their way up through the order. They've just managed to work their way past, I think that was the 97 of Clive Seegers and Andrew Grimm in their Mini Cooper SJCW. Yes, it was, just flicking their way in towards the final corner now. Just sat behind them. It's great to see it back out on the circuit. It's Gareth Cotgrove in his Scots liveried for Puma, because in the first race, a wheel came off. Not ideal, let's go with that. You don't normally expect a wheel to come off, but apparently it was something to do with the spacers and the studs and the nuts, and it had all been affected very slightly, and unfortunately the wheel came off. Brilliant work put in the paddock to get the hub changed, the brake changed, because the brake disc was round, all but the bottom bit, everything was flat there, because it obviously had scraped across the ground. But they got the car back race ready, got it re-scrutineered and back out on circuit, which is great to see. And it just shows now we're seeing a great battle for the lead of the Puma Cup class. It is John Glover currently under pressure from the car behind. I can only presume at the moment that is Ecock behind the wheel of the 187 machine. So we've got little in-class battles going on as the race wears on. Of course, Manoj Patel has been into the pit lane, so Adam Brown is back in the lead of the race. Manoj Patel sat there in second with what is in theory, I'm guessing it's Andrew Marson just about in third. We'll wait for it to tick over. Yes, it is Andrew Marson in third. Phil Briggs not too far away. But the battle for the Puma Cup class lead is getting ever closer. Yeah, and
that's what we heard about Manoj Patel. Yeah, he did a brilliant stop. That he continues on his merry way. But the number one car, however, has got the number one place, Adam Brown, in the Fiesta ST. So we'll wait and watch for those to come back into our sight. I'm not sure where they are on track right now. Manoj Patel currently 30 seconds down from Adam Brown.
Now Adam Brown just working his way through the final corner now to take another lap in the book. He's had the fastest lap of the race from pretty much the onset, a 1 minute 41.482. Last time through a second slower than that, but there's no need to push. He knows he's quick, he knows he's got the pace underneath it, so he's just continuing to pull away. Now we're seeing the Puma Cup class get ever closer as they work their way down the back straight through the very, very quick right-hander, and then it's up the hill, up towards Rocket, getting closer and closer and closer is Ecock, looking to the inside. John Glover goes a little bit defensive as they work their way up towards Rocket. John Glover much better on the brakes. Can he get the car slowed down for the apex? Flicks the car in, the inside rear wheel lifting off the ground. Slightly tighter was Ecock, so manages to open up the next corner. So John Glover under ever more pressure from the car behind now. They'll just have to keep ticking the laps in the book and just keep working towards the final few minutes. Of course, just over 10 minutes of the race remaining. I've got a feeling it's going to be a very busy job behind the wheel of that lead for Puma.
I think you're right, because if anything, and you get this kind of feel that it is the second of those two cars which is marginally faster. So if one or other of them wasn't there, I think it would be the silver car that would be the faster 187. It's kind of pulling out, but that's just a feint, isn't it, to say I am here and I intend to take the place at one time or another.
Yeah, both the Marsons, the two cousins, Richard and David Marson, car number 6, car number 3, and both in very, very similarly liveried Fiat 500 Abarth, having a great little battle. And now, of course, as we've had Blair Roebuck in the pit lane, Sean Ely's taken to the circuit, and lo and behold, who is he fighting with? Exactly who Blair Roebuck was fighting with. So Steve Papworth now fighting away with the, in theory, sister car, both from Recycled Racing, Sean Ely, and Sean Ely all the way around the outside. He's got to try and defend every way he can. There's a Ford KA up the road, half the car on the grass. They're so desperate just to try and get past the traffic. They go either side of the KA and continue on in exactly the positions they were. How they managed to get away with that, I don't know. John Glover has also pulled away from Ecock behind, so the Puma Cup class lead is up to, wow, a whole second at the moment. That can flip on its head. And Sean Ely having a brilliant battle with Steve Papworth. He can't ask anything more from this race.
No, it's all the way down the field, and that's always what we look for and what we hope for. Adam Brown is doing exactly what we thought he would do in terms of pulling away. 34 seconds lead now, which is remarkable in such a tightly packed field. The number 5 Phil Briggs car there that we see is currently in 4th place, but quite a battle there for 3rd, 4th and 5th.
yeah, Phil Briggs was in 4th place. He's now in 3rd. He's just managed to work his way past the number 59 of Andrew Marson on the run up towards Rocket. Gets the car slowed down, pitched in, gives the car on the inside a little bit of room, manages to make that position. But of course, the next target for him is Manoj Patel. And looking at the timing, there's only, 4 seconds separating them. So Manoj Patel, in the final, what will be 7.5 minutes of the race, is going to be under ever more pressure from the recovering Phil Briggs. Because, of course, you've got to remember, Phil Briggs, he had a bit of a moment at the very start of this race. He found himself almost collecting the wall. And he's not only got the car back going again, he's carved his way right the way back up through the order. He's back into the podium places, and he's now chasing down 2nd place. That's no mean feat.
Yeah, and we're seeing the number 55 Alfa Romeo on screen, which is the Fletcher and Fletcher car battling with the Peugeot behind it, the Norton and Place car. This is a battle for 15th and 16th, but it's a battle nonetheless. And they're having a fine old time up at the top end of the circuit, up at Rocket, and they are nose to tail. We even saw a bit of slipstreaming there, and we're seeing a bit of slipstreaming between the 2 Pumas as well. And going very wide there, the 196 car kind of missed his turn-in point. Couldn't do anything about it though. Couldn't capitalise on that error.
I've just noticed as well. Obviously, we all say we've, like you and your best mate, for example. You've got your own language. You'll say certain things and know exactly what what your best mate means. Race drivers have their own language as well, and you'll notice on Mark Coble's and Ecock's machine, the lights are on, and that means look at me. I'm trying to distract you. I need to try and get through, or I am a quick car, come on, let me through kind of thing. So it's the last attempt of, right, I need to do something about this because they're running out of time. Only 6 minutes of the race remaining. John Glover still just about in the lead of the Puma Cup class, running in towards the final corner, jumping on the brakes, getting the car slowed down, turned in quite nicely. However, much quicker off the corner by the looks of that is Ecock. The run up towards turn 1 they will go, and they remain in the positions that they are for now. But we are seeing that that lead battle between the Puma Cup cars get ever closer. Adam Brown already working his way through the very quick right-hander at turn 3. We will await the arrival of Manoj Patel. There is Manoj Patel coming in towards the final corner. Phil Briggs all over his tail. This is the battle for 2nd place, crossing the line in just a few moments' time. Lisa Selby going very deep on the brakes on the run up towards Rocket. But the Puma Cup lead battle is getting much closer. Once again, they're very shortly going to work their way up towards Rocket, and they're absolutely nose to tail. Manoj Patel still under pressure from Phil Briggs, working their way through turn 1. So there's battles everywhere we look, but at the moment, I think with 5 minutes to go, it's only going to go one way. And Phil Briggs, he is in the low and turbo tin top, so he is obviously a slightly quicker car. He's got the assistance of a turbocharger. Out the corner goes Phil Briggs. Manoj Patel goes a little bit defensive just to try and fend off any sort of attack on the run up towards Rocket. But this is where Phil Briggs' turbocharger really comes into its own. Yeah. And there you go. Phil Briggs, 2nd place. Manoj Patel down to 3rd in this session. This doesn't mean they're in these positions come the end of the day. It's just in this session. Yeah, and that was kind of inevitable that was going to happen. Not to take anything away from either driver, but you do sort of stop and think that with Phil Briggs, what if he hadn't had that nasty, then where would he be? Would he be the necessary distance up the road and giving Adam Brown a hard time? But these battling Pumas still at it, coming into the bus stop, the last corner on the racetrack. Pass down in front of us. Do you know, he's running out of time now because it's 3.5 minutes left now. So if he's going to do it, he's got to do it now. Yeah. And similarly with the Alfa and the Peugeot, that number 55 car is doing a brilliant job of just putting the car in exactly the right stroke wrong place for being overtaken. So great stuff there as well. But it's Adam Brown
now with a 39-second lead.
Yeah, now we're seeing the change for the lead in the Puma Cup class. It's Eacock on what will be the outside on the run up towards Rocket. John Glover on the inside. John brakes early, pitches the car in, tries to get the car slowed down. Will it be Eacock all the way around the outside? He goes deep on the brakes. John Glover just about remains in the lead. Running out of road is Eacock. So John Glover with just under 3 minutes of the race remaining, of this session remaining, I should say. John Glover somehow managing to remain in the lead of the Puma Cup class. But lights still ablaze on Eacock's car. And of course, it's not just you get to the end of the 40 minutes and no, job done. No. You've got to wait for the leader to cross the line, which could be a minute after that finishing flag, and then you've still got to get round and take the finishing flag as well. So it could be a 42-minute race, which you think, that's not too much, but that's an extra 2 minutes you've got to fight away with somebody you've been fighting with for the best part of 20 minutes. It's a busy job. John Glover through the penultimate corner now, using all of the road and a little bit more. Of course, now with the new track limit regulations coming into play, you've got to be a little bit more careful than you ever have been. On the run down towards the final corner, again, John just putting the car in the middle of the road, now working his way over to the outside on the brakes, pitches the car in. Eacock much quicker through the final corner, but John gets off the corner very slightly better. And after all of that, they're still in the same position as they were last lap.
Yeah, and he didn't get off the corner quickly enough. And I think we are now in a position where the silver car is probably slightly faster. The 187 car is slightly faster. The battle between the Alfa Romeo and the Clio gets progressively close. They couldn't be any closer than they are, but nonetheless, the order remains Alfa Romeo and Peugeot. But we wait and see. This 196. There's an overlap here. But and a back marker. The Ford car doesn't do anything wrong, but. And the same thing happens once again, but the other way around this time. We saw the yellow car going very wide there. That's probably going to cost him the place, that they are side by side into the left-hander up at the hilltop. And I don't think I can cope with this. But we certainly, normal practice is still resumed, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. You could see that John Glover had to get back in front, because otherwise they'll be approaching a left-hander, and that would put Eacock on the inside and undoubtedly into the lead of the class. Adam Brown still scything his way through traffic. He's just worked his way past Lisa Selby's and Tom Harris's Ford Fiesta ST180. And then we've got a great little battle. That's between the number 55 machine in the hands of James and Steve Fletcher in the Alfa Romeo 33. They're battling away with one of the Peugeots we've got out in the order. Across the line goes Manoj Patel, back in front of Phil Briggs. Not 100% sure how that's changed, but Manoj Patel, on the final lap of the race, has worked his way up into what is second place once again, back in front of Phil Briggs. Across the line goes John Glover and Eacock. They remain in the positions they were. Adam Brown continuing to just be so efficient through the traffic. He's currently working his way down the corkscrew and then down the straight towards the penultimate corner for what will be the final time. The finishing flag being readied, but Adam Brown's standout performance, whilst he was on pole position, we understand that was probably the best place to start. The mistake from Phil Briggs, whilst it helped a little bit again, Adam Brown has just been on another level, carving his way through traffic. Now we might see the change for the lead in the Puma Cup class. On the run up towards Rocket, it's John Glover on the inside, Eacock on the outside, a little lock-up from Glover. Do they remain side by side? And is it Eacock back to the inside? Yes, it is. Can John Glover go for the cutback? Adam Brown through the final corner. He will finish the session in the lead. But of course, all that's doing is adding to the time and the amount of laps that he will accrue come the end of the day. The Puma Cup class back to it. Eacock has managed to work his way in front of Glover. Glover's back on the inside on the brakes, chucks the car to the inside. Can he get the position back? I don't think he can.
No, I think that's done.
It's going to be the penultimate corner if he's got to do something. But back to the outside goes John Glover, quicker off the corner. He's got cars behind. I think that's the least of his worries at the moment. Can he go all the way around the outside, or can he look for the cutback on the exit of the penultimate corner on the final lap of the race? He goes for it, can't quite get the move done. Will he cut back to the inside later on the brakes on the run towards the final corner? Is he there? He's almost alongside. We wait for them to appear. And
but look at the minute. the Mini's going to get them both, I think.
No, he had to jump on the brakes to the Mini just to avoid any contact, but across the line at the end of the session goes Econ. John Glover on the final lap of the race finishes second for now.
We did originally have 30 entries for this event, but the attrition will start to wear on. But we can't go through the entire grid now, as they are now coming through the final corner, ready to get this next race underway into full darkness. The lights looking amazing, and away we go. It was a good start from Manoj Patel, actually, to challenge to the lead, coming down into turn one, but the inside line belonging to Adam Brown as they work their way through up towards the banking. As the field continues to work their way past us, everybody has survived turn one okay. Now watching the cameras as they come through the banking, Manoj Patel, it's difficult to identify each car in the flood of light. I think he has managed to hang on to second position, now coming back into our view across the other side of the circuit. Well, Adam Brown certainly has the top spot. It's not Manoj Patel in second. He is actually down into third now, being challenged by Andy Marson in the Fiat Abarth. But it looks like everybody has survived the opening salvo of this night race.
But they're very much into the darkness now. There are patches of light, and there are some places where it is absolutely pitch black. And Rocket is one of them. We can see the cars disappearing into the left-right kink up there at the top of the hill, but it's then completely dark as they then come all the way back down to the corkscrew. And it's the way that endurance racing should be. That it's very much a question of that they are in the darkness, and then they'll come into a puddle of light. Obviously, start-finish line and the whole of the pit area is properly lit, but the vast majority of this is in darkness, and that is the way that it's the way it should be.
It's certainly the way it is for this event. I must admit, this is my maiden voyage of dark racing. Coming back past us now, it's Phil Briggs really hustling Adam Brown hard. Manoj Patel has fallen only a couple of seconds off the tail end, but has given himself a bit of a gap from Andy Marson. Then it's Sean Ely, the two-car team, sporting the number 2. So it's Sean's Peugeot that is out there to start with. Blair Roebuck waiting in the wings, as we saw earlier on. Just keeping an eye on the timing screen to see if we've lost anybody at this early stage. Doesn't look like it. Now the cars coming back past us once again along the backside of the circuit. Still Adam Brown keeping Phil Briggs, that impressive turbo say at bay.
Yeah, but only just. And as they go down the backstretch and then pull up the hill towards the left-right at Rocket, there's very, very little between these two, and that it's going to be a real nip and tuck for the rest of this race up at the front of the field. You say, Chris, that this is your first night race in for real, and I'm sure it is for quite a few people out there as well.
Absolutely, yes. Upon speaking to a number of drivers throughout the course of the weekend, it's not just their first night race. Sometimes it's their first visit here. So combining the two is quite a challenge for some drivers. Their first tentative laps in qualifying yesterday was the very first time they turned a wheel at this incredible circuit. So, yeah, additional challenge for some of our drivers.
And we've talked a bit about Silverstone over the course of yesterday. This is yesterday.
It is yesterday now. Yes.
That and other circuits are available, and it's quite interesting that when you look around this circuit, there is very little in the way of traditional, and as we now think, traditional runoff area. That there aren't any huge gravel traps, there aren't any high resistance tarmac runoffs, there aren't anything like that. It's track and grass.
Yes.
And that if you're not on the track, you're on the grass, and that's quite daunting for some people as well.
Yes, indeed. It forces better behaviour in a way. You can't get away with doing. There's two sides to that argument. You either see it as forces you to do things better or not take advantage of your entry speed into corners, or there's more opportunity to recover from mistakes, so keep cars running. Take that argument as you will. There will be arguments in both sides of that, both camps of that argument, I should say.
I think that really, with a circuit like this, which I don't think there are any dangerous areas. It's not like somewhere like Goodwood, for example, where very little has changed over the years, and they've managed to maintain their circuit license since they've reopened the racetrack in 1998. But there's not any big runoff areas, but it's safe. What you've got here is certainly safe because you've got these big grass areas. But what it does mean is that if you go wide, I talked about Cops Corner at Silverstone yesterday, and the fact that before the circuit limits ruling was changed on the 1st of June this year, that people were just taking the mickey and using far too much track on the outside of that. You can't do that here, because what you've got is that if you're not on the black stuff, you're on the green stuff, and that's going to cost you time at the very least.
Well, yes, you hit the green fuzzy stuff at pace, and you could well cause some damage to your car. Now, there has been a couple of changes of position. I see that Andy Marson has gotten past Manoj Patel for third in this current session. I did also see that Sean Ely and James Wilson that were very, very close together. I think James has been dethroned from that 5th spot at this point, but Adam Brown cannot catch a break at all, cannot get away from that incredible Seat of Phil Briggs at this point. Side by side, indeed. That must mean, I'm guessing that those are the headlights they're belonging to. But yes, I can see that's Adam Brown's bright white Fiesta in the additional lumens on the front of the Seat. So they're now coming down towards the bus stop, so they'll be coming back into our view. But Phil Briggs wasted no time at all in getting up through the grid and getting on the back of that Fiesta. Phil Briggs didn't have quite such a good run into that last corner, so it's given Adam Brown as good a breathing space as he's had so far in the opening round of the race. They're already getting to the back of the tail end of the field, so they'll be facing traffic within the next few laps.
Now, if wherever you're watching this live stream, if you are watching us on live stream, we'd love to know where you are. We'd love to know which part of the world you're in, whether you're watching in the UK, or please let us know if you're in a different part, and what you think about the whole night racing thing. Have you been night racing before? Have you enjoyed it? Where have you seen night racing? Because it happens all over the country, all over the world, and we'd love to know. So go onto our YouTube channel, and please just in the comments let us know what you think of night racing and whether you've seen it live.
Yes, absolutely. We'd be very interested to have some audience participation with us. We'll see there have been a few comments. Come in, Recycled Racing. Well, that's from Jenny Roebuck, who is the partner of Blair Roebuck. His car is sitting patiently in the wings. Oh, we're just seeing a slightly wayward Puma there, a number 101 car who had a terrible run in the first race, in the opening race of the weekend, indeed, Gareth Cotgrove. 3 wheels left on the wagon. It's great to see the car back out there. It was pushing possibly a little bit too hard. It is quite breezy out there. You can't see that entirely on the stream. Of course, it is dark. But coming in, we were commenting how warm it was throughout the course of the day yesterday. Well, it is really, really brisk, and the wind will certainly catch some people out because it was very calm air through the course of the day yesterday. And now that the wind has picked up a bit, that is going to be making the cars behave a little bit different through the course of the race.
And talking of wind and weather and all those sorts of things, the forecast for the rest of the night is pretty good. It's going to carry on very much as it is. 12 degrees centigrade, which is a little character building, but nonetheless it's okay. But by the time we get to 9 o'clock in the morning, the weather forecast is now saying there is a 40% chance of rain at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, running right through till 11. So from 9 till 11 and beyond, 40% chance of rain, and then it gets all lovely again. But that's changed since our weather update before it got dark. So
Yes.
it's certainly that will put the to use the Le Mans expression, le chat dans les pigeons.
I would nod and say yes, hopefully in the right place in that one.
But yeah, cat amongst the pigeons would be what we would be expecting to find there. But
now, amazingly, we've had some answers to that very question that you posed on where people are watching from.
that's not amazing. We have some wonderful viewers. and
We
listeners.
do have some amazing. We have some American viewers watching from Florida. Son Blair is in. So that'll be from Martin. His son Blair is in the recycle racing pairing. Oh, we've had an entrant into the pit. That is. It's difficult to see because I can only see the tail of the car. I didn't identify which number it was, but when I look at my notes, I should be able to see who that is. That is the Mark Kirby Alex Ecock car that has come in. Oh, the pit lane is open. So I'm nattering away, having so much fun. I completely missed that the pit lane's actually open. So no, that's not a problem. That it could well be a driver change, although they don't seem to be actioning that with any urgency. But it is a mandatory 1 minute 30 pit stop from pit in to pit out.
Driver out.
Driver is indeed out. Oh, now there's some urgency going on. So that's good, which means they're wanting to get the car back on the road again.
Yeah.
So looking at the other comments that we've seen. Son is racing the number 88, and they're from Texas. So some American viewers. Excellent stuff. It's great to see. There's a lot of multinational interest. So the 88 is the James Rogerson and Chris Sawyer car, the Ford KA, which is still rotating. Yes, it is.
Yes.
The Ford KA is still out there.
And did you say that he is actually in Florida?
Well, the driver isn't.
No. The father.
No, that would
They're
be the.
in Texas.
That's yes. Texas was that particular comment. The one from Florida is the parent of Blair Roebuck. Never experienced anything like it. Us Mellor girls are watching from the paddock, supporting Daddy in car number 23. That's Nick Mellor. That is out there. Fantastic. Watching from Missouri in the US. Let's go, Sean and Blair. A lot of support for the recycle racing pair, which is fantastic to see. And Sean Ely is out there at the moment, up in 5th place currently, which they're doing a fantastic job at the moment. We're at the top of the hill watching, and it's pitch black up here. Yes, it is. It is very dark up there. Another viewer from Texas, howdy from Texas, cheering on our guys in number 88. That is. Again, that is the James Rogerson and Chris Sawyer car. So welcome to those that are watching live. We very much appreciate your viewership and, of course, your interaction with us in these dark hours, or dark for us, I should say. It really does add to the kind of overall atmosphere. I was speaking to one of the organisers, Dave Smitheram, as I came in, and the atmosphere from all the participants and our incredible Orange Army, huge shout out to them who are making sure that everything is up to standard through these dark hours. We literally couldn't do it without them, and our great team at Alpha Live providing us with the stream footage and all the camera work where we literally couldn't see without them. So great stuff from all officials and participants concerned.
Yep, and we still have a motor race going on out there, and in the dark. We talked a bit earlier on, Chris, about the fact that quite a few people haven't raced in the dark before, and that this is something very different for them as well. And that it's something which is quite daunting and quite challenging, not just for the obvious bits, but it's they have been here and racing since lunchtime yesterday, and that they were qualifying yesterday morning. So it's already been quite a mammoth enterprise. There's nobody out there with more than 2 drivers. Quite a few. In fact, the majority of people are running solo. So it is endurance in the truest sense of the word.
Absolutely so. Some moisture on one of the cameras. Oh dear. Someone's car is leaking something somewhat unfortunate, somewhat severely, I would say, judging by that. I can see there is a car being pushed along the pit lane, assumedly the one that's been responsible for the aforementioned leak. Unfortunately, I can't quite tell who that is. I can tell
it looks like a Fiesta.
And it looked white, which would immediately make me think of Chris Herwood, but Chris Herwood is not in his own car. So who is it? I'm hoping it's not Adam Brown, because he's still circulating. So go through my notes and see which white car that could be. I don't think it was the Fletchers, because that's now for a Mayo, and exactly as you say, Paul, that looked Fiesta shaped. Hopefully we'll see when someone goes missing on the timing screen, and then be able to identify who it is. That potentially could be the 176 car, but I am not certain on that. Let me see if I can see on the timing screen who, or if anybody is shown as missing at this venture. Or the Kirby and Ecot car is great, and it isn't them. Another car that is towards the tail end at this point is the 69 car, which is the Griffiths and Mainwaring car. Could have been them. We will see. As that's obviously one of the downsides of the night racing aspect. With a few more pit stops going on now. More expected than certainly some others, but the racing action continues. Another comment that I can see here from Justin over on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching along. I love that club racing in the UK has such a variety of races and does endurance-style events like this. I hope the clubs here in the States can start doing more events like this. That's a sort of comment I've seen before, where from American viewers or indeed some European viewers as well, that it's often UK is leading the way in the style and variety of racing that goes on, and the club, Classic Sports Club, will be heading to America towards the tail end of the year for a couple of events. So those that are in the States get to actually see what the club is all about.
Well, I've been in the commentary box for several of those events in the US over the years, or should I say the announcers booth. There is a translation difference there, but I've done that with Historic Sports Car Racing, who run the classic 12 hours and the 24 hours classic at Daytona, to give them both their proper names. And they both run to this kind of format, so race after race after race. And for all of our US listeners and viewers, do have a look at Historic Sports Car Racing website, because they run some fabulous events. We will be part of, hopefully, both Sebring and Daytona, and be bringing some cars over for that. But that what we do have is that those are really, really good events. They're very flexible. They will. Daytona is the jewel in the crown, and with that you'll get some fabulous cars. But HSR also have a principle of saying it's almost run what you brung. That they will find a class for anything that is historic. And it's quite interesting, Chris, that in the US, the definition of historic, or actually technically vintage, as another difference in language, that the definition of vintage in the US is anything that isn't current. So therefore, you
I can understand that. Yeah,
you'll see at Daytona race cars which are perhaps 4 years old.
because it's not current anymore. Yeah, something has superseded it.
Yeah, so it's great. But yeah, all of our US viewers, please have a look at HSR. There is also the SVRA, which is a similar organisation, and they run some great events as well. But do have a look at the Historic Sports Car Racing website, and they'll give you all the things that they are doing. And I think after that plug, David Hinton and the team owe me a sandwich. But the other thing is that they've run very effectively for many years. George Tuma is the man who ran it with David Hinton. George passed away a few years ago, and David has been running it on his own for a while. He 2 years ago sold the business to IMSA.
Oh.
And as we know, IMSA is in turn part of NASCAR.
They know how to run a racing team.
And one of the things that NASCAR is doing with HSR is historic NASCAR racing.
That will appeal to a great many people.
So again, another brilliant reason for get to Daytona, get to Sebring, get to the Mitty at Road Atlanta. That all of those are great events. The Mitty, incidentally, is called the Mitty because the very first event, one driver's wife said, "You're all just Walter Mitty dreaming of being racing drivers," and it is now officially called the Mitty.
I see. Well, there you go. There you go. Now, the car that was leaking oil that we saw earlier was actually our race leader. It was the car I didn't think it was Adam because I thought he was still circulating at the time. But no, Adam Brown has had to pull that car off. It's rather unceremoniously leaking fluid. So he done the right thing and pulled that one away. What a shame, because he had such a storming start. It really was keeping Phil Briggs honest at the front of the field. So now it's Andrew Marson in one of the quite a number of theatre baths that we have attending this event, with Manoj Patel hot on his heels for the lead of the race. There is another one of the Marson Army, as I call them, in the paddock show. And we shall hopefully get to see a little bit later on. Yep. So myself and Jack Merrill had a bit of a chat to several people. The Marson family was some of the people we spoke to. They run a theatre bath business, so they're somewhat specialised in preparing that type of car, and wow, they've done great things with the little Fiat. They are so batting above their weight, figuratively and literally. It is absolutely great to see, and it's growing as well. They're all cousins that all take part, including the master sponsored one. I forgot the name of the gentleman who's kind of added himself to that particular camp. Well, there is the 59 car on stream, just being pushed away. That's Andrew Marson, who was leading the way. That's the one I was just trying to think of. It's James Manning. That's again another relative of the Marson family. You can see the Marson name plastered on the car. You'll also see it's a name that makes me chuckle every time I see it. When we see the car come past, if the cameraman looks at the rear bumper, it should say Fat Moose, and it makes me chuckle every time that one comes past. I haven't had a chance to figure out, to ask James what that is. But some viewers may wonder why they shove the cars. Well, these cars are made to go fast very well. They don't like going slowly. So the nature of the clutch means that they're quite susceptible to stalling. Let's see if we can get the. There it is. Yep, Fat Moose on the bottom bumper of the car. It makes me chuckle when I see it. But yeah, a number of cars, more recent and some of the classic cars, sometimes need a bit of help to just get rolling again to prevent a stall. So they're designed to go very, very well, very quickly. They don't like going slowly. They sound awful when sound like a cement mixer full of spanners.
One of the funny things though is I can remember talking to a driver, a very successful driver in historics, and I said, "Do you really need to do the weaving from side to side on the green flag lap to supposedly warm the tyres up? And is that something you need to do?" And he said, "I don't know, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it."
Yeah.
And I think that pushing the car out of the pits is probably very similar. That once you've done it, you're always going to do it because you know
It's a habit.
might make the difference.
Yes, I totally understand that. There'll be drivers that have, they do things habitually rather than for any other reason. As the number 69 car now gets underway, that is Ben Brain and Wayne Bocock in their Renault Clio. So new drivers to the club. I think we see Ben a couple of times in the course of the weekend. So for the time being, top of the table is Manoj Patel. So I think everybody has been in that is still circulating. Actually, everybody that started the race has been in. So
we now have a race to the flag.
We do indeed, and quite a gap in between Manoj Patel and Phil Briggs, incredibly. Now, Phil Briggs is still the one with the fastest lap, but somewhere along the line, he's lost a minute. Now, it could be that Phil Briggs was serving a penalty. Confess I didn't look to see who had success penalties in the course of the race. And there is the Ford KA, Chris Sawyer, sporting the American flag on the side. I've forgotten whose flag that is, actually, for Rogerson.
I'm not going to guess.
Gone blank on that one.
I'm not going to guess because there'll be an international incident if I get it wrong. But it's
again, multinational in our drivers as well as our spectators. So we do have some drivers from a variety of different nations. This car, a prime example. We've seen this car before, and we've either seen this particular car or another KA in similar colours. I'm pretty sure it is the same one. Again, prepared by Burton. So we've seen this car in a few different hands once or twice. It is somewhat outgunned, but it's still amazing to see the competitors in all types of cars. Very much what you were saying earlier about we'll find a category for you. Very similar ethos here, as long as you have the necessary safety equipment, which of course is mandatory no matter what you're running and no matter where you're running it. It's one of these things that as long as you meet the necessary standards, you will find somewhere for you to race.
And I think that the other side of that coin is that you don't get in this class of racing one particular car which is very successful. Let's say it's a Fiesta for the sake of argument, and that everybody goes out and builds a Fiesta. That people say, no, I want to run an Abarth, that I want to run a Seat or whatever, and that you get this incredible variety rather than everybody slavishly following the same format because Joe Soap is quicker than you are in whatever it might be.
Well, that tower has updated itself. I think Manoj may have been a little bit late to the pits, judging by his last lap at 3:16, so that's a pit stop and an out lap. Of course, the timing line is still broken when the car is in the pit lane, so sometimes the lap time can be slightly skewed for that reason. So Manoj now in third place, Phil Briggs leading the way with Andy Marson. So the lucky little Abarth is still hanging on in there. Phil Briggs has just gone past us. You actually just heard on the stream there that supercharger on the Mini. I do like that noise. I've commented on that in the first race. There's a couple of Minis that take part in races with the CCs that have that really distinctive whine. John Wyatt is another one, another turbo tin-top Mini runner who isn't with us this weekend. Is another one that has that really distinct sound. And even though a lot of the tin-top cars, all the vast majority of the tin-top cars are 2 litres, they're naturally aspirated cars. They're mixing with the turbo tin tops, so you just get this wonderful variety, not just of the car, but of the sounds that they all make. And each engine has, in some way, its own little nuance. some cars you can identify. Oh, okay, that's such and such just coming over the horizon, either by the aforementioned supercharger in the case of the Mini, or in some cases, they have like Dylan Popovich's earth-shattering 7 litres as a result. Or Steve Pickering actually in his 5 litre Some Big Tiger who was out in the previous race. There are some cars you hear before you see it.
Yes, I think that's true, and but with the many years that I went to Le Mans, and it was when I first went to Le Mans, which was in the 70s, that there was no lighting at all out on the circuit, but it was all completely pitch black. Lighting across the start-finish line and that bit there, but everything else was darkness, and you actually learnt to identify the headlights. That's a Porsche, that's an Alpine, whatever it might be. And the other thing you learned was to identify the noise.
Yes.
And I was there when Johnny Herbert, Bertrand Gachot won in the Mazda. Now, you didn't need to know that was a Mazda. You heard it, and you were saying about that charismatic noise that the Minis make. That Mazda shrieking like a banshee doing Mazda, and that you just knew it.
I've heard the engine again in not in full song as in when it's been displayed. I know exactly what you mean. That's yes. I think a politically correct way would be distinct. It's
far more than that, but that isn't that isn't politically correct, as you quite rightly say.
That flag, again, I knew I should have relied on our wonderful viewers. It's the Texan flag. That was the one we observed. So thank you very much to those confirming that in chat. That is for Rogerson. So they've come a long way. Assuming that they haven't commuted just for this weekend.
Well,
that would be quite a...
However you cut the cake, they've come a long way.
Well, yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, that very car has just made its way back into the pit lane again. So upon identifying, I mean, I'll take the commentator's cuss. I'm not paying the repair bill, but I'll take the cuss on that one. The 88 has just reappeared into the pit lane. Unfortunately, they've stopped right underneath our position, so I can't see what frantic action may be taking place on the 4KA. But yes, they have sadly brought that car back in again. A second pit stop does usually mean a fairly terminal problem. They do have one more session to see off the weekend later on in the day. So back in the day, is he going back out again? Okay, so he wasn't happy about something, but he's gone back out. So the 4KA survives.
It could be something as minor as a dirty windscreen.
Very true.
Yes. So let's not commit them to the virtual dustbin yet, because I think they're back out there and running. And
yes.
In conversation with our viewers and the listeners out in the big wide world, I'd love to know if you have ever been to a race in the dark, and where, and what did you think? There's all sorts of different races. We know we've got a lot of viewers in the US, and certainly in the southern states, they've got two of the greatest endurance racing circuits in Sebring and Daytona. But there are endurance races in many different parts of the US. But even if you're listening in Europe or in the UK, where have you been? Have you been to Le Mans? Have you been to any of those sorts of places? Love to know what you saw, what you thought, how you got there, and the stories that you have about a trip to wherever you go.
I've commentated on the virtual Sebring. I come from the sim racing world, so Sebring is a circuit I have commentated on in its virtual guise. And if I was to use one word to describe Sebring, it would be bumpy.
It's very bumpy. I mean, they're still using the concrete that was the original
airbase, was it?
Yeah, it was the training base. And the track has changed a bit over the years, but the the start-finish line and the backstretch and all of that is exactly as it was. It's not the most salubrious of circuits. You have to say that, but it's so full of history that they've got a wonderful thing that over the pits, each pit has a winner from years gone by. Name of
I've seen that. Yeah, that's a great touch.
makes you shudder when you see it.
Yeah.
There is so much history there. But please let us know of the events that you've been to, and also, of course, the ones that you intend to go to. Maybe you're the man who nearly went to China, but it's maybe one day you're going to go to Le Mans. But do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you, and we're enjoying the racing here at Anglesey.
Absolutely. Well, Jenny Roebuck has answered that Recycle Racing has done night racing at Donington and Brands with the CSCC. The night race at Donington was actually the very first race that the club streamed. And I remember intensely watching that stream when I was new to the club, and learning who's who and gathering as much information as I could. They had horrendous weather on the Saturday. It was down the old hairpin was basically a lake, and which is obviously that's where all the water in Donington just runs to, and it was horrendous weather. But Sunday was much more pleasant, and that was one of the first kind of night races I then spectated, not live, but it was one I then really started to get an appreciation for what people love about night racing. It's something really quite magical.
And seeing it for real, Chris, living up to expectations.
Oh, entirely, absolutely. It's absolutely fantastic, and the atmosphere as well from the people on the ground, by the spectators or officials, it just really completes the scene. It was absolutely fantastic to see. Now I'm having a look at the tower, and I'm seeing Manoj Patel following his pit stop, closing in again. I think Andy Marson has made a mistake somewhere. He's suddenly lost, because Andy Marson was closing in on Phil Briggs for the lead at one stage, and it looks like that has thrown the Little Bath potentially into the clutches of Manoj Patel in his Civic. We'll see when they next come over the line. That's one of the difficulties in trying to keep up with racing such as this. I can see Andy Marson actually just oh no, big one, wrong Marson. It was number 6 that I just spotted on the other side of the circuit. That was me assuming that I'd spotted the right one. That's the only negative side of having a rich field such as this. That was Richard Marson I'd see. But trying to keep up with who's where, especially when you've got people on different laps to one another. Well, there goes Manoj Patel, actually with Blair Roebuck right on his tail. So Andy Marson, has he fallen by the wayside somewhere? Because well, there you go. You've got that's just highlighted why Blair Roebuck is right on the tail of the Civic of Manoj Patel. Blair Roebuck has been absolutely flying in the black and yellow. I think the older style Civic. They're on the other side of the circuit right now. Manoj is really now having to work hard to keep the recycled racing Civic behind.
Very, very much so. And yes, I think that falls under the category of where on earth did he come from? That the number 2 car in 3rd place, really pushing very hard indeed. Now as they come back down the hill very shortly, briefly into our side.
Well, I've just seen Andy Marson. He's dropped down to 4th, so he's still circulating. But he did a 2-minute lap time last time around. So either Malady is hitting, or he's made a series of mistakes. I mean, it could easily be all the visual references completely change, and you've got a lot of light from other cars. So, what is those watching on stream? The 3 cars that we are primarily looking at should be 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So certainly 2nd and 3rd in that shot. We'll confirm that when they come back to us with only a minute left of this race. It's going to be a shame for this battle to end, really. And Roebuck is ahead of Manoj Patel. So that's second place now in the hands of the number 2 pairing of Blair Roebuck and Sean Ely. So Manoj doesn't seem to quite have the pace at this stage on the Honda Civics, the old-style Civic, winning out on this one. Andy Marson is gone. Oh, here he comes. So Andy Marson needs quite some distance behind. So there is a problem with that car. He's been much quicker than that in the course of the day. He's actually lost out as another 2-minute lap. So something has broke. It's not preventing him from continuing, but something has snapped on the number 59. So James Wilson now up into 4th place, and there you can see the lap time difference on the screen there between Blair Roebuck and the incredibly quick Manoj Patel. So Manoj is quick, but Blair Roebuck is absolutely storming at this stage, with Phil Briggs off into the distance again, as he was in race 1, but he unfortunately incurred a penalty, which I believe was a short pit stop penalty, that denied him the victory in the opening race of the weekend. No such maladies this time, obviously no penalties on the board for any driver. And Phil Briggs has backed off his pace a little bit. He's knowing that he doesn't need to push too hard. His pit crew no doubt informed him of the gap behind, and that car still has another race potential, another session potentially to do, but he's just crossed the line. So your winner of this 3rd session for the Carl Sport Tin Tops, the Puma Cup and the Low-End Turbo Tin Tops is Phil Briggs, and over the line in 2nd, there he comes. He's still being hustled by the Civic. They were both Civics, sorry, by Manoj Patel was Blair Roebuck. So the number 2 team hanging on to 2nd place. A storming effort in this second half of this race. Well done to Sean Ely and Blair Roebuck for Recycled Racing. And Manoj Patel just pipped by half a second to that spot. So still a podium for Manoj.
Coming towards me, a very nice, neat 2x2-ish start, and it's the number 5 car of Phil Briggs who gets the jump. He's done a beautiful job, and I think that it was looks like Manoj Patel who's actually got into 2nd place. Lots of elbows gently out as they complete this 1st lap, and it's the 112 car. The Patel car is actually up in 2nd place. That is coming up from 3rd on the grid. So a good start there from Manoj Patel, and cars are off into Rocket, neat and tidy. Nobody doing anything silly or unwise. They've got 40 minutes of this, and they've already had 2 hours of racing already running. So consequently, they're not going to throw it all away now. And Chris Buxton, it's great to see that we have such a full grid of cars still running after 3 pretty arduous races.
Indeed. We lost a few along the way. Well, again, as we said through the night, that's to be expected. Just run back up the stairs. Just catching my breath slightly.
Okay, well, I'll let you do that, and that we'll just look through the grid. 29 cars on this grid, which is tremendous. Patel coming under a bit of pressure now from the Roebuck Honda, that he got the jump right at the beginning, came up from 3rd to 2nd, but it looks as if the Honda would like to take that place back. Battle for 4th place between the Abarth, which takes 4th place under a just gentle bit of braking as they go into the back straight. So it's number 6 from number 234, and those 2 cars are already looking like they're settling in for a battle. But the battle that we're keeping our eyes on is for second, with the Patel car. Oh, and the 159. How did he get over there? Driver's right on the grass, along the back straight. That's
it's not the ideal to take. That's Andy Tate and Neil House in their Renault Clio.
no, it's
Something went wrong somewhere. It's about as all we can apply to that.
yes. We only saw the back end of that, but on screen now we have this emerging battle for second that we're certainly seeing. The lead is well in place, but a little bit of a lock up there. The 888 car.
Andy Windmill, yes, in the ultra lightweight Civic.
He's had a dismal weekend, hasn't he?
It's not gone well for Andy Windmill. There's always high expectation for Mr. Windmill, as he does tend to be towards the sharper end more often than not. But his race 1 didn't go well. He retired from that. He wasn't in race 3. I didn't do race 2, so for the session 2, I should say, for this group. So I think it's session 2 didn't go too well for him.
No, he's got everything and nothing to prove. He's in that strange position where he can do no right and he can do no wrong.
Indeed, well, he's right behind the Lisa Selby and Toby Harris Turbo Fiesta, and absolutely in usual Andy Windmill style, just absolutely flies past, because he's making his way from the back of the field. Those watching the stream, well, good morning to you all. The 159 car start to get back into pace from its sort of unusual exploratory line it was taking earlier on. So leading the way once again, Phil Briggs in his turbo Seat Leon.
I said to you during the night that I was going to pop down to William Hill and put a bet on when we were talking about the Sunbeam Talbot Lotus coming through the field.
Yes.
I think I'm going to do, I don't know what these are, accumulator or something like that. But I think I'm going to go down and say that I think that the 888 car is heading very much for a podium, and perhaps even better than that, because he's going incredibly quickly. Started right at the back, finished that previous lap in 7th place, and that he's travelling extremely quickly. He's on that previous lap he did 1:42.5, which is every bit as quick as our race leader.
Very true. Those watching on stream are seeing Adam Brown getting on the inside line of the Harris Selby car. Right behind them was the John Baker, Nick Mellor Renault, being hunted by one of the Marson Army, as I called them, during our paddock walkthrough show that we did yesterday. Which one is it? It's number 3 that's gone through, which is David Marson. So that is for... it was the number 1 Etal. Somewhere around 7th or 8th or something such. Now, interestingly, Phil Briggs was able to build up quite a bit of a lead in earlier races, whereas Manos Patel this time is very much keeping him honest. Just a couple of seconds behind is the Civic, rather than the Seat running off into the distance. And right behind them was the ever popular recycle racing. Through the night we had a lot of support for Blair Roebuck and Sean Evie. And Blair Roebuck is still in sight, certainly, of the top 2. Maybe somewhat outgunned. It is a 1600 engine that Blair is using. There's a 2-litre for Manoj Patel and a turbocharged 2-litre for Phil Briggs. So he's a little bit outgunned in power, but that's not squashing his determination.
No, and look at the number 888 Andrew Windmill car, absolutely slicing through the field. He's now up to 5th place overall, and that there is a fundamental difference, Chris, from all the other races we've seen this weekend so far, and that is this is the last one for this group. And so there's nothing about preserving your car or worrying about making sure that it's ready for the next race, that they've only got to do another 32 minutes racing, and then they can put what's left of the car on the trailer and go home.
Absolutely, yes. We can see everything that these cars have left in them. Oh, and on stream we're seeing again the 159 car, which is Taden House, getting very, very close to Gareth Cotgrove in the Puma. It's still managing to avoid contact, and for the most part, that's something you've mentioned several times through the dark hours in particular, that the general driving standard has been absolutely exemplary. There's been a few bumps and scrapes along the way, but considering how many racing laps we've done across all of our categories, it's been remarkable.
Yeah, and any bumps or scrapes that have happened have been accidental rather than anything else. There hasn't been any of that sort of robust BTCC type driving that we've seen. We don't do that sort of thing. And it's very much now with Phil Briggs in the lead. Manoj Patel is behind him.
True, and unsurprisingly, it's Andrew Whitmill setting the timing screen light in his charge from the back toward the front. He's just homing in now on Blair Roebuck as they're dancing through the traffic themselves. Blair's on the Civic has fallen a bit behind now the top two, but this is going to put Andy Whitmill in contention for a podium for this race.
Just for clarity's sake, as much as anything, we know that this is a cumulative race, and that there are 4 parts to it. We've talked a lot about that throughout, and we have commentated on each part of the race as being an individual part of the race. We're going to continue to do that, but obviously by the end of this race we're going to have an overall winner, and that's what the prize giving is going to be about. So for all those people who are here at Anglesey Circuit, we're very lucky. But for all those people who are here who are with the teams, you can find out who won and who didn't win, and all the cumulative times at the prize giving. And in each case, that will happen 30 minutes after the end of the individual race. So 30 minutes after this race will be the prize giving. So it's worth hanging on and doing what you do, because also don't forget that as Jack said earlier on, we are also choosing the drivers of the day for each of the races, and that will also be something which you might just be interested in knowing about, because it's not necessarily going to be the people who are taking home the silverware. It might be for all sorts of different reasons that we look for driver of the day. It might be effort, it might be entertainment, it might be reward or a compensation for bad luck. It can be any or all of those things, and that we're going to see that. We've got the number 2 car, as you see on the screen, is in the pits.
That's Blair Roebuck. They're handing driving duties for the remainder of the race over to that one, over to Sean Neely, the black and white with pink accents. The second half of the recycled racing pair, they've done stormingly well,
haven't they?
They're somewhat smaller engines compared to the those that they are up against, but they've always been right at the top, and from what I can recall at least. I personally haven't seen all the races with our rotoring. We haven't seen, each one commentator hasn't seen all 4 of the events going on. Sean Neely now getting underway, but from what I've seen, certainly the efforts of the recycled racing team have been absolutely brilliant. The camera on the stream showing it's quite choppy out there on the high seas. and it is blustery again. It was certainly somewhat biting in the night. It's not quite as cold, not quite as blustery as it was in the night. But as you were discovering, Paul, there is the threat of rain in the air.
It's coming and going, though. I'm very confused by it, and I think the more efficient the weather forecasters get, the less efficient they are with their weather forecasting. That it's quite a ridiculous kind of thing. That as we saw the darkness creeping in yesterday, we were talking about the fact that we were forecast rain, or 40% chance of rain from now 9 o'clock onwards. That has receded very considerably. We've got a very cloudy sky, but I don't think it's going to be anything more than that. We are still threatened with some rain at about 11, but that's we'll wait and see on that.
Yes. Well, I've just had a look on my phone, and it's not showing any significant chance of rain until about 5 o'clock. So we will see. It's the typical, or the age-old method of judging the weather by looking out of the window. Is that a slow Steve Packworth from the Odell maintained Civic? No, I think he's just getting out of the way. So he was up to speed again on the Timecodes. Our race leader is in as the number 5. Phil Briggs, along with that's Chris Herwood in the Odell Fiesta behind, along with the number 6 Marson. There aren't 6 of them, that's just the car numbering. That's Richard Marson. Oh, there are quite a few Marson cars. There's 4 of them. 4 Baths of those bear the name Marson, and one that's been prepared by the Marson family. Well, that's the Fiesta, which is on number 69. So yes, that was a very crowded garage when we went to see it. Very lovely family affair. There's wives and children along supporting the Marson family. It's such a lovely group. And again, something that we've always enjoyed as commentators when dealing with the Classic Sports Car Club is everybody is always very welcoming, very friendly, and several times throughout the course of the weekends, drivers have needed the support of others. Oh, we have some debris of some description.
Hard to be able to tell from a distance quite what it is. Looks like a strap or something like that, but shouldn't be on the racetrack. We don't like that. The Triple H car is currently in 3rd place, which is pretty impressive.
He's just followed Phil Briggs out of the pit lane. So I've just seen the pair of them leaving to continue their merry way. Now, Phil Briggs has been won some of the sessions leading up to this point, but there you go, on stream now is Andy Whitman slicing his way through a couple of the views to keep his pressure on Phil Briggs. So that is a definitive challenge for what could well be the leader, rather depending on where Manoj Patel filters out as well. His Civic was involved in that battle for the lead. That's 14. That's the Civic. So I did wonder whether that was being a bit sick, but he's turned it off, turned it on again, and gone on his merry way. So trouble for the Odell maintained Honda Civic. That was a bit of a shame. But again, that's I was going to say that's a car that does well when it's on song. Well, they all do well when they're on song in their own way. But Odell managed quite a few cars, quite a few Fiestas in their fleet. That particular Civic is owned by Steve Packworth and is run and maintained by the Odell squad. We are seeing on stream James Wilson in the 234 Peugeot. Tyre pressures being checked, usual pit stop routine. Make sure the car is still running in tip-top shape after the mandatory period of time.
Yep, and in that difficult period now where we're awaiting everybody to have made their stops. We've only had 6 cars make their stops so far, so we're waiting on a bit more than that. But we've still got just over half of this 40-minute race left to run. The Wilson Peugeot back in the race.
Indeed.
So one of the things, of course, is that all these people who've worked so incredibly hard in the pits and in all the looking after these cars, they are getting to the stage where their job is done, and that they're only going to have to load up the car and take it home.
Very much so. A couple more pit stop visitors. You can see the war wounds very much on display for Gareth Cochrane. There is our number one on this field, which is Adam Brown. In his Fiesta, the door being opened and wafted. Oh, and that Civic is still not behaving itself. I think, again, Steve knows that the car is probably a bit sick, so he's staying out of people's way. It does give a bit of a false impression of the pace he's had, but the fact that he's already had to stop and still not getting back up to his usual pace, as expected, it's a little bit disingenuous. He's clearly struggling. Come back to what I was about to say about Adam Brown having the door wafted. I did not fully appreciate until I very first interviewed a driver whilst he was still in his car, just how hot it gets inside the cabin. It really is a furnace, even if it is freezing cold outside. Stick your hand in the door of the race car and it is roasting.
And don't forget that they're also sitting there with 2 or 3 layers of Nomex, a balaclava, and a fireproof crash helmet as well. It's hardly conducive to being comfortable in the car. The 78 Civic is there and receiving such service as it needs, which isn't much.
Position for Holly Brown. Oh, and there's Andy Windmill challenging for the lead. Inside line coming into Rocket has managed to dethrone Phil Briggs. Does the Turbo Series have an answer? Well, it's been pretty good so far this weekend, but now that's exactly what I was saying earlier, now that Andy Windmill has essentially have no sense of preservation, shall we say, not needing to keep the car good for later in the event. He can deploy all the horses, and he wasn't in the third round, the night race. He elected not to take part in that. I think it's due to the electronics in his car. His headlights flash when he's on the speed limit, and he wasn't certain that he could get the headlights to stay on without him holding onto a button.
No, that would not be conducive. But we said that the 888 car there would be slicing through the field, and indeed it has. The blue Civic that we've been worried about is now into pit lane. Do you think that's an intermittent fault there, Chris? Do you think that it's cutting out and restarting or something like that?
It could well be. It would explain why Steve Backward has chosen to rather than down.
That may be about to change.
That could well be about to change. There's another pit stop going on. That's number 4, which is Lee Norton. That's the 2-car team, Lee Norton and Lee Pace. That is Peugeot. So we're looking at wheels. The second part of that continues was Liam Pace's Toyota Corolla, which is the street looks now on at Phil Briggs. Have an answer, not in the pace that we've seen thus far, but in fairness, Phil Briggs has done a few more laps this weekend. Andy Windmill, no disrespect to Andrew Windmill at all. It's not been his weekend. He missed the night race by choice. Manos Patel, though, still hanging on in there, and the Pumas are still having an argument. So again, these are single spec cars. They're almost completely road legal. There's very little that the Puma Cup allows for alteration to keep the cost of the racing down. So that was 196, which is John Glover and Mark Chappell, alongside the 187, which is Mark Kirby and Alex Eaton. So all very experienced drivers, and they're right alongside the number 6 Fiat Abarth of Richard Larson, literally alongside Sean Eady in the motorcycle racing Peugeot. Number 2, 2X, I should say, works the way himself. And the third Puma of Garrick Cotgrove is not far ahead of him either. So the Pumas do tend to be outgunned as far as raw speed is concerned. The racing you get from them is not diluted at all as a result.
No, indeed, and that's certainly where we're seeing perhaps a bit more speed from one or two cars who are throwing caution to the wind in this last part of the race. That's not a good sign. I mean,
no, generally not good looking under the bonnet. They've had a very mixed weekend, but the opening round in particular was particularly tumultuous for the Martin contingent. But 59 sent back on his way as Nelson Patel getting past some more of the traffic as he's doing his best to keep up with Phil Briggs. Is that Steve Packworth's car?
yeah.
So Civic is back out there. So yes, it is. It's the number 14 Civic is still going
and going well. But I'm touching. I was going to say touching wood. I'm not. I'm touching Formica. But it's that all tends to say that it's something which is intermittent or is untraceable. But we'll see.
Manos Patel is in. A few pit stops yet to take place. Pit lane is still open. Not many, but
No, and this will reset pretty much everything. But the only cars which there's the Warner Cooper S, the 12 car, which is now in the pits anyway. So by the end of this lap, everybody will have stopped.
yes, indeed. So we haven't seen anybody fall foul of forgetting to stop. We've seen with regards to pit stops have been short, which have been very few. And Phil Briggs was denied the victory in one of the sessions with exactly that. In the opening race of the weekend, there is number 12 Mini that you mentioned, Steve Warner, who has that lovely screaming supercharger at R53.
That really has got you, hasn't it? That's
Every single time it's been as well. I love the noise.
yeah, it's and I wouldn't disagree with you for a second.
Round working his way through the track as well. The Puma challenge has changed slightly. Mark Kirby was in there. You can't see him in the camera shots. I'm sure where he's gone. He's there somewhere. He's now got, there he is. So he's actually dispatched of the other two. So he's slightly ahead now.
Yes, I mean, well ahead, comfortably ahead.
Cotgrove and Glover. Oh, that might be Mark Chapman actually. Stop. So John Glover's car that he's sharing with Mark Chapman for this event. And he's having a look on the inside, coming up towards the hairpin. Can he get it done? Well, these being single spec cars, of course, you can't rely on a power difference or any kind of characteristic difference that we've seen all the way through this weekend, where the brute force of some cars is outdone in certain parts by the agility of others, hoping for them the power to come good on the straighter parts. You don't have that because the single spec is all down to the ability of the man behind the wheel. And the pit lane is closed, so I don't think it's
No.
that should have done in.
Yeah, it's interesting though that now that we've got everybody stopped with 13 minutes left to run, that this really is the race to the flag.
Yes.
And that we have in first place currently on the leaderboard we have Manish Patel.
Wow, he's done well to overcome the lead. But when speaking of, he's just about to come over the line with Andy Windmill in hot pursuit. So once the fastest lap by Andy Windmill, again, I mean no
not being disingenuous, but it is almost expected that Andy Windmill will be one of the fastest guy out there on track based on past history. But he's exactly as you say, Paul, he's got nothing left to preserve in the car for this weekend. So he's giving absolutely everything he has. And once again, the amount of times Manoj and Andrew have fought against one another for various spots on the podium throughout their CSCC lifetimes is numerous. So once again, it is Civic versus Civic for those top spots.
And I think looking at performance.
Oh, that's trouble. I was just thinking Gareth Cockgrove was taking a somewhat wide line through.
That's generous.
Well, we need to be generous. Also, we don't know whether that was a mistake or. Well, he's continued. I wonder for a moment because he had a bit of a wonky wheel going on. It wouldn't be the first time he's had wheel-related issues. Sadly, in the early round of the weekend, something snapped and 3 wheels was left on the back end. But he managed to get the car into the corkscrew area, which isn't used for this layout of the weekend. So he was able to prevent a safety car or such. But I was hoping he wasn't having similar issues again. He's gone past the pit lane entrance and carried on along his merry way.
Which is great news. But we're now nose to tail, first and second. Tail and Windmill are going up towards the banking out of our sight, but there was absolutely nothing in it. My expectation would be that Windmill will emerge first as they come back into our sight and into the backstretch. Yes, we have a change for the lead then, Chris. That there is the blue and white PFC Honda, which has taken the lead.
Indeed.
As they go up towards Rocket.
Almost a wall of traffic has greeted Andy Windmill, as we can now see on stream. So that is the Baker and Mellor Clio alongside one of the Marson Army. That's allowed Manoj to stay in race. Oh, and that's more trouble again for the 159 Andy Taylor Neil House. It's not been a great maiden outing for that Renault Clio, maiden CSCC outing for the Gen 4 car. The end of the weekend is grass, but still plenty of battles going on. There's Chris Herwood in the Odell maintained number 21 car. That's not his usual car. His own car has been rebuilt. That's one of the Odell fleet. That's Can Do as the driver for the Odell camp. We have several race prepared Fiestas. We'll maintain a few others. The Civic and Steve Mackworth. Plenty of racing still to conclude to see us out of this. See us through the remainder of the weekend.
Yeah, I think I don't think that Manoj Patel has got anything in his pocket that can stop the 888 Windmill car from disappearing now into, I was going to say the sunset, but we've done all that, haven't we? That it's 8.5 minutes left to run. The
Indeed.
Field is sort of nicely spread out. We had a total of 29 cars that took to the grid, which was remarkable after what is a lot of racing.
That's only having lost one entry. We have 30 entries for this category at the beginning of the weekend. That is incredible. That almost all of them have made it this far.
Yeah, I mean, some are held together by sellotape and goodwill, but nonetheless,
that's the nature. That's part of the DNA of club racing, isn't it? Is make the thing work against all odds.
We have a yellow at turn 1, which can't quite see why, but there is definitely a yellow there.
Unless that is.
And that's a waved yellow too, but
yes.
It was the 159 clear that pulled up. Well, there it is on the stream. It must be just past the pit lane exit, so we can't see it from our commentary position. There's some of the Orange Army then going to attend. You know, the Orange Army have been absolutely incredible, so again, our huge appreciation to our incredible marshals and officials for working all the hours that's needed through this entire event. It is the first time that the CSCC has done a 24-hour event, so it's been quite an amazing feat. So we thank all of the officials throughout the entire organisation for all of their efforts.
We now have twin wave yellows because obviously marshals are on track to attend to that Civic. Now, whether they're going to be happy leaving it where it is, or whether they are viewing that as being in a place of concern, we'll have to wait and see. Because if it is, then we're going to have a safety car. But my guess is that they'll just make sure that it's safely parked and leave it there for the remaining 6 minutes of this race. Yeah, there it is.
And it's moving under its own motive power at least. So
yeah,
the performance may not be there, but there's still at least one horse left under the bonnet.
And yeah, so we will very shortly, I think, see those yellows withdrawn, and we can go racing again. As I say, just under 6 minutes left to run now.
Indeed, as we just see the number 6 car. I always have to remind myself which Marson is in which car, because I can never remember. It's Richard Marson in that one. Still continuing along his merry way. Now the Tower has him in 4th with Richard in 5th. Curiously, Andrew Windmill is not in the top 3 on the Tower.
That's the one on.
That's the aggregate tower.
The aggregate.
Oh yes, of course. So
we are starting.
Yes, yes, of course.
The screen that's in front of me has Andrew Windmill as being in 888 in first place from Manish Patel, 112 in second, and then we've got Phil Briggs is in third place. Fourth is the Ely Roebuck team of Peugeot and Honda, and then the first of the Marson Army is in 5th place
and carrying a penalty.
Yes.
So
just waiting to see if we're going to get told what that is.
Very good question. Nothing appearing on the race control message. So my assumption is going to be that he was out of the pits too quickly. So was cut the timing beam before the requisite 90 seconds. I can see the number 4, the second half of the number 4 pairing, is in the pits again. That is Liam Pace's Peugeot. Alas, it's not been a great maiden outing with him, but still having some good fun out there is Andrew Windmill. He will be leading this particular race, but the aggregate times is what is displayed on the Tower. So this is how the timings have fallen throughout the entirety of the weekend. So Andy Windmill will be towards the back. Well, there he is. You can just see his name appearing on the Tower, because the races that, a race singular, was the opening race that Andy Windmill was in. He retired early from, wasn't in the night races, so he's lapsed short for that particular reason, but out there giving it everything his car has left, which has provided some amazing entertainment. Oh, and I can see the number 78, that's Holly Brown's Civic, pulling off on the run up to Rocket, the blue and orange stripe, which is very much reminiscent of club chairman of the club chairman's racing colours.
That's not a good. I had no choice, but that's not a good place to park. It's probably 2 cars widths off the racetrack, and that we still have just under 3 minutes left to run. Now, my guess is that it would take a minute for them to make a decision anyway.
They probably will throw the checkered early with only 2.5 left. We will see, though. You can see where the flag post is. There will be discussions on whether they just cover that under localised yellows because there's only a couple of minutes left, or whether they decide to throw the checkered early.
Driver is doing exactly what they're supposed to do and staying in the car, because that's undoubtedly the safest place to be until such time as either the marshals decide to come and get you out, or the race is neutralised. But that car parked on the side of the racetrack on the way up to Rocket, but it's still Andy Windmill 888 in the lead from Manoj Patel 112, and then we have the Briggs Sayat Leon, which has been very quick, very consistent, which I think is an important part of what we have.
Absolutely so. I'm going to see if I can try and get hold of our aggregate winning three when they come back in. So I need to go prepare myself with only a minute until the checkered flag is due to fall.
Then you've got a minute to rush around in ever decreasing circles. So Chris Buxton going to go down and try that. We've got two of the Marson Fiats are running nose to tail. It's a bit like Le Mans, where the cars all form up in team order to cross the line together with just less than a minute to run. That are we going to see that whole team order bit? That we're waiting, and this time, of course, it will be the black and white checker to signify the end of the race. So looking for our winner. Now the winner, of course, is not going to be the 888 car. It's going to be Manoj Patel. But waiting for all of these cars. The official with the flag nervously looking up the road to make sure that he can pick out our winner. It's not a very long straight to be able to make those decisions. And there we are, there we have it. That the winner of the sector 888 is the PFC Honda Civic. All the rest of the field now getting the black and white checker. That's their brilliant race weekend finished, and they have given us some absolutely tremendous racing, as we now know. I love the applause up and down the pit wall for all of these people and all the great stuff that they've done. And congratulations to the guys on the pit wall, because that's sportsmanship in extremis. So that's a great one to see. So thank you for that.